Chapter 90. Screech Lin Ye's arrogant words shocked all the strong people in the square. Everyone couldn't help but sigh. There should be a limit to arrogance. There should be a limit to arrogance. There were thousands of ways to court death, and Lin Yi was the most simple and direct. 2 moves? Tu Ming could take 2 moves and he would spare Tu Ming's life? Was there something wrong with their ears? Or had the world gone crazy? Several elders present also sighed. This young man was indeed a good genius, but unfortunately, he was too arrogant and didn't even know whether he was dead or alive. Ha ha, Tu Ming had nothing to say. The young man in front of him was a lunatic who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. If he argued with him, it would be a loss of face. In his heart, he even began to regret. He really shouldn't have argued with such a lunatic. In the eyes of hundreds of thousands of strong people in the square, Lin Yi was also a lunatic. Crash, however, Lin Ye's actions immediately caused the disdain on everyone's faces to become serious. Even a few elders and Tu Ming were looking at Lin Yi seriously. In the air there was a crash and it shattered. A long saber appeared in Lin Ye's hand. The long saber carried a destructive flame light, and the power of the sacred weapon distorted the space. Sacred weapon. Yes, it was a sacred weapon. Sky Flame Sacred Saber. With an unparalleled saber intent, this was Lin Ye's saber intent. Only with saber intent could one be considered a true saber master. Only at this moment did all the strong people in the square know that Lin Yi was serious. For a time, countless people were asking in their hearts, was Lin Yi really going to defeat Tu Ming in 2 moves? Just with a sacred weapon? Although sacred weapons were rare and precious, a super genius like Tu Ming naturally had won. In other words, Lin Yi couldn't win in terms of sacred weapons. Humph! Tu Ming snorted coldly and didn't move at all. In this situation, he had no intention of using a weapon at all. He was from the giant clan. Although he wasn't a physical cultivator, his defense and attack were extremely terrifying. Even if Lin Yi had a sacred weapon, he didn't take Lin Yi seriously. Saying that it was only 2 moves was an insult to him. If he didn't use a saint artifact or even a weapon to block 2 of Lin Ye's moves, it would be like slapping Lin Yi in the face. Tenfold Destruction Blade. 7th level, Annihilation. A smile appeared on Lin Ye's face. With a wave of his hand, the Skyflame's sacred blade slashed down. All of a sudden, the 7th fold of the tenfold destruction blade burst out. In an instant, 128 destructive blade lights burst out in the void. The blade lights formed a blade light, and the power of the blade lights overlapped. Originally, he had only cultivated the tenfold destruction blade to the 5th level. During this period of time, after his closed-door cultivation, he had easily cultivated the tenfold destruction blade to the 7th level. In the 7th stage, there were 128 saber light. Its power was thousands of times stronger than the 5th level. Crack the space was shattered by the saber light. At this moment, all the experts in the square were dumbfounded. Naturally, they didn't expect Lin Yi to burst out such a terrifying attack. This attack was not something a sacred weapon could achieve, but Lin Yi himself. Even Tu Ming, who didn't take Lin Yi seriously, had a shocked look on his face at this moment. This blade really brought the threat of death to him. If he took it head-on, he would definitely vanish into thin air. He didn't dare to be arrogant anymore. He didn't care about showing off just now and displayed his powerful defense. When he used it, a sacred artifact-level shield appeared in his hand, hoping to block Lin Ye's blade. In his heart, he couldn't bear it. Just now, he pretended that nothing had happened and ignored Lin Ye's attack. But in less than 5 seconds, he changed his show-off. This was actually very embarrassing. Rumble, crack. 128 rays of saber light ruthlessly slashed on the shield. The shield flickered with a magical defensive light. But in the blink of an eye, cracks appeared on the shield. In less than a second, the shield broke with a crack. The sacred artifact-level shield couldn't withstand Lin Ye's attack just now. The shield was broken, and Tu Ming was completely exposed under the saber light. Puchi Tu Ming spat out a mouthful of blood. The power of yin and yang that he temporarily displayed was instantly shattered. His body trembled as if he had been hit by a mountain, and he was quickly thrown backward. But at this moment, Lin Ye's figure turned into an afterimage and disappeared. When he reappeared, Lin Yi was already close to Tu Ming. At the moment when Tu Ming fell to the ground, Lin Ye's finger force had just stopped an inch away from Tu Ming's glabella. If Lin Yi moved an inch forward, Tu Ming would have fallen. Even if Lin Yi didn't control the attack well, Tu Ming would have died. The battle was over. It was incredibly fast. From Lin Ye's attack to the end of the battle, the entire process took less than 5 seconds. Tu Ming was ranked 13th on the prodigy roll. He was at the 8th level of the yin-yang realm, and he was defeated just like that. He was defeated almost instantly, and he didn't even have the strength to fight back. The plaza was silent. Everyone was stunned at this moment. After a long time, they subconsciously rubbed their eyes and carefully looked at Tu Ming and Lin Yi in the center of the plaza. They saw that Lin Ye's finger was an inch away from Tu Ming's glabella as he listened. He had a calm smile on his face. After confirming that they weren't hallucinating, all the experts were stunned. 8th level of the yin-yang realm, ranked 13th on the prodigy roll. He was instantly defeated by an ordinary disciple at the 9th level of the manifestation realm. In the beginning, everyone had been gloating over Lin Ye's misfortune, but in the next second, Tu Ming had been defeated by Lin Yi. This kind of heaven-defying reversal, this kind of mythical reversal, made everyone tremble involuntarily. The Heavenly Sea Sect's elders were also extremely shocked. They knew how powerful Tu Ming was. Even they might not be Tu Ming's match. However, someone as powerful as Tu Ming was defeated so easily by Lin Yi. If Lin Yi wanted to kill Tu Ming, he only needed a thought. For a moment, everyone's mouths were wide open, and their fists could almost be stuffed in. "Do you admit defeat?" Lin Yi looked at Tu Ming with a smile and asked. Tu Ming was ranked 13th on the prodigy roll. For the sake of the Heavenly Sea Sect, he wouldn't kill Tu Ming, at least not now. However, Tu Ming had offended him, so he had to pay the price. "I admit defeat." Tu Ming wished he could find a hole to hide in. This was a great humiliation. He couldn't figure out why Lin Ye's attack was so terrifying. It wasn't the power of a manifestation realm cultivator, and it even exceeded the power of the yin-yang realm. Moreover, Lin Ye's speed was extremely terrifying. He was almost like a shadow. Looking at the finger force in front of his forehead, and feeling the terrifying power of the finger force, Tu Ming knew that if he didn't admit defeat, Lin Yi could destroy him with a finger. He knew best what the Heavenly Sea Sect was like. Lin Yi was stronger than him. Even if Lin Yi killed him, the Heavenly Sea Sect wouldn't punish another prodigy for a dead prodigy. "I said that I'll spare your life if you take 2 moves. However, you couldn't even take 1 move from me. Remember, you owe me a life. I can take your life at any time." Lin Ye's voice was cold. His gaze swept across all the experts in the square. Everyone lowered their heads, not daring to look at Lin Ye's eyes. "Senior Brother Lin, Senior Brother Lin, Senior Brother Lin." At this moment, the entire square erupted into cheers. Lin Ye's name resounded throughout the Heavenly Sea Square. Chapter 91. Lin Yi had defeated Tuda, a body cultivator, with his strength and physique. Then, he defeated Tu Ming, who was ranked 13th on the prodigy roll. Every time, he would surpass a few realms. There were many manifestation realm warriors who defeated yin-yang realm warriors in this world, but every one of them was a super genius. Normal elites couldn't even imagine. Realms were only measured by normal elite. But super geniuses had abilities that far exceeded their realms. It wasn't rare for them to surpass their realms and defeat high-level elite. However, super geniuses could only surpass 1 or 2 realms. Super geniuses could also surpass 3 or 4 realms. Now, Lin Yi was only at the 9th level of the manifestation realm, but he defeated a super genius at the 8th level of the yin-yang realm instantly. What kind of existence was this? It was unimaginable. It made people doubt this world. Everyone was shocked, but they still overlooked a crucial point. That was, Lin Yi was only 16 years old. A 16-year-old at the 9th level of the manifestation realm. A 16-year-old who defeated a super genius at the 8th level of the yin-yang realm instantly. This was true terror. If he was given time, he could even become an invincible yin-yang realm warrior. Tu Ming lost. He lost just like that. I didn't expect senior brother Lin Yi to be the real monstrous expert. If it wasn't for Tu Ming and Tu Ta, no one would know that there was such an invincible genius in the outer sect. It's scary just thinking about it. He's too low-key. This world is too crazy. I thought he was arrogant and crazy. I even thought he was a fool or a lunatic. In his eyes, everyone here is trash. The weak will never understand the strong. Tianhai Square. It was full of cheers and discussions. Lin Ye's name was engraved in the hearts of all the elites. They all told themselves to remember Lin Ye's appearance so that they wouldn't court death in the future. At the same time, countless elites told themselves to restrain themselves when necessary. If today's incident happened to them one day, they would be finished. Brother Lin, you're the best. Lingxi's bright eyes flashed with curiosity and admiration. She didn't expect Brother Lin to be so powerful. He was so powerful that it was beyond her imagination. Good luck. See you in Tianhai Pavilion. After entering Tianhai sect, don't ask for a master. Come find me. The same goes for you. With a smile on his face, Lin Yi reached out and stroked Lingxi's hair as he spoke. Behind him, Lingxi transmitted her voice to him. The last sentence was for Silent Soul. Okay, Silent Soul, and Lingxi nodded. Although he didn't know Lin Ye's purpose, he still subconsciously agreed. Another reason was that Lin Yi was so powerful and heaven-defying that he was definitely one of the most terrifying people in the Heavenly Sea sect. Having such a person as a backer was something that could not be asked for. Lingling, let's go. Lin Yi glanced at some of the heavenly legends from the Yunshui kingdom. He turned to Murong Lingling and said, if he wanted to enter the Heavenly Sea sect, he had to rely on his own strength. Even he couldn't help them. Furthermore, the path of cultivation was a path that defied the heavens. Even if he could help them once, he wouldn't be able to help them forever. Little brother Lin Yi, let's go shopping. Murong Lingling naturally held Lin Ye's arm and said. Her voice was crisp and sweet, like the sound of nature. The faint sound drifted into Lin Ye's nose, making Lin Ye's heart skip a beat. Sure. Lin Yi nodded. He had just finished cultivating, so he could relax a little. On the path of cultivation, there had to be a balance between tension and relaxation. If he treated himself like a string, it would break if he stretched it too much. There was no benefit to it at all. The two left the Heavenly Sea sect, and Lin Yi accompanied Murong Lingling to go shopping. After a day, Lin Yi felt unreasonably tired. After returning to the Heavenly Sea sect, Lin Yi began to cultivate the 3,000 Heavenly Tao and the Starry Sky Divine Art. The news of the battle in the Heavenly Sea Square had already spread to the core of the Heavenly Sea sect. They didn't expect the outer sect to have such a heaven-defying monster. How heaven-defying was it for a 9th-level all-creation realm cultivator to instantly defeat an 8th-level yin-yang realm cultivator? It was still acceptable for a 9th-level all-creation realm cultivator to instantly defeat a 1st-level yin-yang realm cultivator. However, to instantly defeat an 8th-level yin-yang realm cultivator was indescribable. One had to know that many 9th-level yin-yang realm cultivators weren't a match for an 8th-level yin-yang realm cultivator. He's indeed a monster. A monster that only appears once every 10,000 years in the Heavenly Sea sect. Did you find out his information and background? The sect master, Murong Tianjing, looked at the battle on the crystal screen. He took a deep breath. In terms of cultivation, he really wouldn't care about the yin-yang realm, let alone the all-creation realm. However, he was interested in Tu Ming and Lin Ye's talent. He didn't expect Lin Yi to be so monstrous. If it wasn't for this battle, he wouldn't have known that the outer sect had such a monster. Sect Master. We've found out his information and background. The great elder, Xue Shi, handed a jade slip to Murong Tianjing. The jade slip contained the information about Lin Ye's identity and background that the Heavenly Sea sect had found out recently. He's from the 100,000 Mountains. Yunshui Kingdom nationality. He only cultivated for 2 years. He has no martial soul talent and no cultivation. He went from nothing to this level in 2 years. It's simply a legend. It's indescribable. Murong Tianjing was looking at the information in the jade slip. The expression on his face kept changing. This was the first time in almost 100 years that he encountered something that moved him. This time, he was even shocked. In 2 years, he went from having no cultivation to a 9th-level all-creation realm cultivator to instantly defeating a 8th-level yin-yang realm cultivator. He, who was at the peak of the void refinement realm, could remain calm even if Mount Tai collapsed. Only this monstrous young man shocked him. What? He only cultivated for 2 years. How did he cultivate without a martial soul talent? He's too monstrous. Hearing Murong Tianjing's words, the elders were extremely shocked. Generally speaking, a martial artist who could reach the innateness realm in 2 years was considered a top genius. Lin Ye's achievement in 2 years was simply a legend. Next, the 10 elders took turns to read the information in the jade slip. They were all shocked. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they wouldn't have believed it. The assessment will end in 9 days. People from the demonic sect and the devil god sect may appear at that time. Let the little guys on the list of geniuses get ready. Murong Tianjing said. Every time the Heavenly Sea sect recruited disciples, the super geniuses from the demonic sect and the devil god sect would come to the Heavenly Sea city to challenge the geniuses of the Heavenly Sea sect. At the same time, they would pay attention to every move of the Heavenly Sea sect. They would keep an eye on the genius disciples of the Heavenly Sea sect and look for opportunities to eliminate them. I've got news. The 9th young master of the demonic sect is already in the Heavenly Sea city. The 11th young master of the devil god sect is also there. The great elder Xue Shi frowned. The devil god sect and the demonic sect were not weaker than the Heavenly Sea sect. In fact, they were even stronger than the Heavenly Sea sect. Especially in the past few hundred years, many peerless geniuses had appeared in the demonic sect and the devil god sect. Chapter 92. The Tianhai sect was recruiting disciples. It would last for a total of 9 days. After 9 days, the recruitment would end. After the recruitment of 3,000 disciples, it would be the day of the Tianhai sect's prodigy roll. There was no time limit for the prodigy roll, and one could challenge for a higher ranking at any time. However, the Tianhai sect's public announcement of allowing the best prodigies to compete for the prodigy roll was the most popular. That was because that was when one would truly become famous. Another reason was the demonic sect and the Fey god cult. The 2 super prodigies of the evil sects might appear in the Tianhai sect and challenge the prodigies of the Tianhai sect. In the Tianhai sect, the super prodigies were all eager to fight. However, the most popular person recently, Lin Yi, was cultivating seriously. After refining the soul suppression cauldron, your divine telekinesis will improve by leaps and bounds. In the room of the pavilion, Lin Yi sat cross-legged, and Biluo's voice sounded in his mind. My divine telekinesis is now at the peak of level 34. It's equivalent to the peak of level 9 of the Wanxiang realm. If it reaches level 35, it will be able to compete with those in the Yinyang realm. Hearing Biluo's words, Lin Yi was looking forward to it. Although he had been cultivating the 3,000 heavenly Tao and had a powerful divine telekinesis, he had never relied on it to fight. If he could use it to fight, his means and strength would improve greatly. However, his divine telekinesis was weak, and his attacks were not powerful, so he had never used it before. Level 35 Divine Telekinesis is equivalent to the Yin-Yang realm. Level 40 Divine Telekinesis is equivalent to the Void Refinement realm. Level 45 Divine Telekinesis is equivalent to the Creation realm. Bai Luo's voice sounded neither fast nor slow. Divine telekinesis was not powerful in the early stages, but it was extremely powerful in the later stages. There were very few divine telekinesis masters in this world. Firstly, it was difficult to cultivate divine telekinesis. Secondly, divine telekinesis was weak in the early stages, and it was basically useless to humans. Of course, divine telekinesis was used as an aid most of the time. Okay, help me control it. Lin Yi nodded and activated his divine telekinesis. The ninefold space opened and he disappeared. When they reappeared, they were already in a mysterious, independent world. Lin Yi looked at a palm-sized cauldron. Immediately, the cauldron flew towards him. Soul-suppressing cauldron. The soul-suppressing cauldron was an ancient mystical treasure. It could condense divine will and suppress divine souls. As long as one's divine soul was not destroyed, one would never die and would not fear reincarnation. Next, Lin Yi followed Biluo's steps and sacrificed a drop of blood essence. Blood essence dripped onto the soul-suppressing cauldron. Buzz buzz. In an instant, the soul-suppressing cauldron erupted with a terrifying aura. This was the aura of a divine sense. In front of this aura, Lin Yi could not help but tremble. He almost fell to his knees. Fortunately, with his powerful divine will, he was barely able to stabilize his consciousness. Moreover, his blood essence was connected to the soul-suppressing cauldron, so the cauldron didn't kill him. Time passed by second. A full hour passed. The soul-suppressing cauldron turned into a stream of light and disappeared from between Lin Ye's eyebrows. When it reappeared, the soul-suppressing cauldron was already in the center of Lin Ye's sea of consciousness. The sea of consciousness was the sea of consciousness. The soul-suppressing cauldron floated in the air. However, the appearance of the soul-suppressing cauldron continued to refine Lin Ye's divine soul and divine will. At this moment, Lin Ye's divine will rapidly improved and sublimated. Level 35, Level 36, Level 37, Level 38, Level 39. Finally, the soaring divine will stopped. At this moment, Lin Ye's divine will had reached Level 39. Lin Ye's face was filled with shock and disbelief. He did not expect that his divine will would suddenly increase by 5 levels and reach Level 39. One had to know that every level of divine will was as difficult as ascending the heavens. It was countless times more difficult than a martial artist's breakthrough. Especially after level 30, it would often take years, decades, or even a lifetime to increase one level. However, he had reached the 39th step from the 34th step in less than 2 hours. The soul-suppressing cauldron was connected to his flesh and divine will. In other words, the soul-suppressing cauldron was like his right-hand man. What made him realize that Jade Fall wasn't fooling him was that the soul-crush cauldron was truly protecting his sea of consciousness. It was also tempering his divine sense and strengthening it. This way, he would be able to cultivate his divine will even faster. Finally, level 39. Lin Ye's figure flashed and left the ninefold space. When he reappeared, he was already in the room of the pavilion. His face was full of excitement. Even if he had broken through several levels in a row, he was not as excited as he was now. One had to know that although his divine will was only level 39, however, this level 39 was comparable to a martial artist at the peak of the Yin-Yang realm 9th level, or the same level. If his divine will reached level 40, it would be the same as a martial artist at the Void Refining realm. Now, his divine will was like a martial artist at the yin-yang realm 9th level, only one step away from continuous. You don't cultivate divine will attacks? Biluo's voice sounded. Now Lin Ye's divine will could cultivate 1 or 2 divine will attacks, which would make him invincible in the same realm. However, looking at Lin Ye's appearance, he did not intend to cultivate divine will attacks now. Not for the time being. I'll go to the 9-fold mountain. Maybe I should go to the sword pavilion. Lin Ye's face was full of confidence. It had been a while since he came to the Tianhai sect, but he had not achieved his goal. He did not even try to achieve it. The 9-fold mountain was a good place. The sword pavilion was where he wanted to go. Okay. Biluo naturally knew some of Lin Ye's secrets and goals. Anyway, with Lin Ye's talent and strength, there was no way he could run away. After tidying up his clothes a little, Lin Yi left the room and walked in the direction of the 9-fold mountain. Now, he was definitely one of the most famous people in the Tianhai sect. Wherever he passed, countless disciples and experts of the Tianhai sect greeted him. Senior Brother Lin. Senior Brother. Senior Brother Lin. When they saw Lin Yi, they all greeted him as Senior Brother. In this world, the strong were respected. Since he was powerful, others naturally addressed him as Senior Brother. When Lin Yi saw his fellow disciples greeting him, he smiled and nodded as a return of greeting. That's Senior Brother Lin. Looking at him, he should be going to the 9-fold mountain. I heard that Senior Brother Lin entered the Tianhai sect by going to the 9-fold mountain. I wonder what level Senior Brother Lin has reached. Let's go and take a look. When they saw the direction Lin Yi was going, they could not help but guess that Lin Yi was probably going to the 9-fold mountain. When they thought of Lin Yi going to the 9-fold mountain, they were filled with anticipation. In an instant, the news spread like wildfire. When Lin Yi arrived at the foot of the 9-fold mountain, hundreds and thousands of supreme talents already knew that he was going to the 9-fold mountain. Moreover, the supreme talents at the foot of the 9-fold mountain also saw Lin Yi. The news spread even more rapidly. After Lin Yi, an ordinary outer sect disciple, defeated 37 Tu-Ta disciples. He also defeated the 13th Tu-Ta. In a short 2 days, Lin Yi appeared at the foot of the 9-fold mountain and was going to challenge the 9-fold mountain. Chapter 93. Below the 9th mountain. Lin Yi sized it up. It was exactly the same as the 9th mountain outside the Heavenly Sea sect. The only difference was the entrance. The entrance outside the Heavenly Sea sect was for the elites of the Heavenly Sea realm. The entrance here was for the disciples of the Heavenly Sea sect. At this moment, there were hundreds and thousands of elites below the 9th mountain. All of them were in the manifestation realm, but most of them were in the yin-yang realm. There were only a few elites below the manifestation realm. At the entrance of the 9th mountain, there was a crystal stele that was 100 meters tall and 10 meters wide. The crystal stele was divided into 9 sections. The first section was red. The second section was orange. The 9th section was white. Red, orange, yellow, green, indigo, blue, purple, black, and white. 9 colors. The first section was engraved with the name of the secret Mama. The second section was also densely packed with names. In the third stage there were relatively fewer names. The fourth section had a total of 200 names. The fifth section had a total of 16 names. In other words, no one in the Heavenly Sea sect had reached the 7th peak of the 9th mountain. The 6th section had a total of 3 names. As for the 7th, 8th, and 9th sections, they were empty. There was not a single name. Lin Yi already knew the purpose of this stele. It was to record the records of the Heavenly Sea sect members who had reached the 9th mountain. The higher the ranking, the greater the talent. Hello, Senior Brother Phone. Hello, Senior Brother Phone. Hello, Senior Brother Phone. Just as Lin Yi arrived at the 9th layer mountain to look at the crystal tablet, a burst of lively voices rang out. These voices were all calling out to Senior Brother Phone. From their voices, it wasn't hard to tell that these people were very respectful to senior brother Feng. At the very least, they didn't dare to offend him. He did not turn around to look. In his opinion, this senior brother Feng should be one of the more famous elites of the Heavenly Sea sect. Senior brother Feng, are you here to challenge the 9th mountain? You have already reached the 3rd peak of the 4th mountain. Senior brother Feng's strength has increased greatly. I believe you should be able to reach the 4th or 5th peak this time. Such a result is enough to rank in the top 50 in the Heavenly Sea sect. Of course. Senior brother Feng is ranked 38th on the prodigy roll. Senior brother Feng hasn't fought for a year now. His strength is definitely not what it was a year ago. Right now, senior brother Feng might even be able to make it into the top 20. In the future, senior brother Feng, you have to take care of us juniors. In a world where the strong were respected, it was the same everywhere. When the weak met the strong, they would try to curry favor and flatter them. The attitude of the strong was their nature. The Heavenly Sea sect was no exception. The top 100 on the prodigy roll were all super freaked. That was true strength. In the Heavenly Sea sect, he was at least one of the top 100 disciples. Even some elders of the Tianhai sect were no match for the geniuses on the genius roll. It could be said that in the Tianhai sect, only the 10 great elders and the palace lord could suppress them. Look at the rankings. This ranking has nothing to do with you, junior brother. A smiling voice reached Lin Ye's ears. It was obvious that the voice was talking to him. Although the tone was calm, it was filled with disdain. The prodigy roll recorded the records and results of the 9-layer mountain. A youth with an outer sect badge definitely had nothing to do with the prodigy roll. Why does this prodigy roll have nothing to do with me? Does this prodigy roll belong to your family? Lin Yi turned around. What appeared in front of him was a 27 or 28-year-old youth. The youth was dressed in a brocade robe and looked like the second generation of an aristocratic family. In his hand, he was holding a folding fan and gently fanning himself. Lin Yi almost scolded him. In the dead of winter, it was snowing heavily. Wasn't it too showy to be holding a folding fan and acting cool? However, this had nothing to do with him. Scolding him was just a reminder. There was no way he was going to teach someone for free. How can you say that? Don't you know senior brother Feng? Beside the youth, a peak Wanxiang stage cultivator angrily scolded Lin Yi. He looked as if he wanted to teach Lin Yi a lesson. I was wrong. Lin Yi had a relaxed smile on his face. It's good that you know you're wrong. Let me tell you, senior brother Feng is ranked 38th on the prodigy roll. On the prodigy roll, senior brother Feng is in the 4th stage. A Wanxiang stage cultivator, he said with a proud face. It was as if the person who reached the 4th-layer mountain wasn't senior brother Feng, but him. The way he spoke was really asking for a beating. Is that so? Lin Yi looked at Feng Wuhan and asked. His face was full of ignorance. Of course. Feng Wuhan's face was full of arrogance, and he looked high and mighty. The folding fan in his hand was gently fanning himself. But what does that have to do with me? Lin Yi said something that would infuriate someone to death. When the prodigy roll below the 9th-layer mountain heard Lin Ye's words, they couldn't help but feel a little worried for Lin Yi. Feng Wuhan was ranked 38th on the prodigy roll. The prodigy roll was even higher than 35th. Now, he was courting death. It was undoubtedly suicide. Most of them didn't know Lin Yi. Those prodigy roll experts who knew Lin Yi were just watching from the side. They couldn't help but feel fearful. He was obviously a peerless demon, but he pretended to be so low-key. He had already perfected the art of pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. Feng Wuhan. Haha, you're ranked 38th on the prodigy roll. How can an outer sect disciple look down on you? Li Mingdu ranked 35th on the prodigy roll. He had seen Lin Yi fight Tu Ta with his own eyes. He also saw Lin Yi defeat Tu Ming in seconds. He was terrified of Lin Ye's strength from the bottom of his heart. Fortunately, he didn't provoke Lin Yi. Now that he saw Feng Wuhan pretending in front of Lin Yi, he couldn't help but feel a sense of malice. He wanted to take advantage of Feng Wuhan. As he spoke, he nodded at Lin Yi as a form of greeting. Li Mingdu, do you think I'll be calculative with an outer sect disciple? To be honest, I really don't take him seriously. Feng Wuhan waved his fan proudly. When he looked at Lin Yi, his eyes were full of disdain. When he heard Lin Ye's words just now, to be honest, he was almost angered to death. If it was any other time or place, it would be strange if he did not teach this outer sect disciple a lesson. Is that really so? Feng Wuhan smiled and asked. In his heart, he almost died of laughter. Feng Wuhan actually said that he didn't take Lin Yi seriously in front of Lin Yi. He was very curious. If Feng Wuhan knew Lin Ye's identity and strength, what would his face look like? What do you think? Feng Wuhan was a little impatient. However, he wasn't a match for Li Mingdu. However, he had a brother who was ranked 16th on the prodigy roll. This was also an important reason why he could do whatever he wanted in the Tianhai sect. Coupled with his strength and talent, not many people in the Tianhai sect dared to provoke him. I really don't know. But I do know one thing. Even if you and your brother were to join forces, he would still be able to crush the two of you. Ha ha, this is too funny. Li Mingdu walked step by step towards Lin Yi. He said loudly. At the end of his sentence, he couldn't help but laugh as if he had seen the funniest thing in the world. Li Mingdu, your joke isn't funny at all. If you have the ability to say that in front of my brother. Feng Wuhan glanced at Lin Yi. Based on Lin Ye's identity and cultivation, he was sure that he was a piece of trash. At the same time, he understood that Li Mingdu was disgusting him. Suddenly, he felt even more annoyed. Senior brother Lin. My name is Li Mingdu. Li Mingdu ignored Feng Wuhan and walked in front of Lin Yi. He saluted Lin Yi with his fists clasped. His actions and behavior surprised many people present. Who was Li Mingdu? He was a super prodigy expert who was ranked 35th on the prodigy roll. They didn't expect Li Mingdu to call an ordinary outer sect disciple senior brother. Of course, those who knew Lin Yi felt that it was natural, because Lin Yi was stronger than Li Mingdu. Lin Yi nodded and didn't say much. Feng Wuhan. Do you know who he is? Li Mingdu didn't look for trouble. Chapter 94. Who is he? Seeing Li Mingdu's actions, Feng Wuhan had a bad feeling. However, his heart twitched uncontrollably. He knew that Li Mingdu had tricked him. The key person was the ordinary outer sect disciple in front of him. But who was this ordinary outer sect disciple? He wasn't the only one. More and more elites were curious. They wanted to know who this senior brother Lin that Li Mingdu mentioned was. Even if he was the number one outer sect disciple, he wasn't worthy of Li Mingdu's respect. For a moment, those who didn't know Lin Yi looked at Lin Yi. Outer sect disciple, Lin Yi. Li Mingdu looked at Feng Wuhan with a smile. He pointed at Lin Ye's name on the leaderboard and said. He said Lin Ye's identity and name. To be honest, most people didn't care about this identity and name. In fact, most people looked down on this identity. However, this name was on the leaderboard. More importantly, Lin Ye's name was on the 4th stage of the crystal leaderboard. The 4th mountain, the 6th peak. Identity and name. These weren't important. The most important thing was the 6th peak of the 4th mountain. That was enough. Feng Wuhan. I forgot to tell you. Senior brother Lin defeated Tu Ta. He defeated Tu Ta in seconds again. Li Mingdu looked at Feng Wuhan with a look of anticipation. He wanted to see the shocked expression on Feng Wuhan's face. As expected, Feng Wuhan's expression changed drastically. He didn't believe it. He was shocked. Most of the people present had either witnessed Lin Ye's battle with their own eyes or heard the rumors. They all knew of Lin Ye's deeds. In the eyes of the countless geniuses of the Tianhai sect, Lin Yi was simply a miracle. Those who didn't know about Lin Ye's deeds were shocked. The way you're holding the fan. I don't like it. Under countless shocked gazes, Lin Yi looked at Feng Wuhan. He said calmly. After saying that, he strode forward. Because it was already his turn to challenge the Nine Peak. Although Wind Without Trace had offended him, he hadn't offended him too much. There was no need for him to lower himself to the same level as someone like him. Are Tuda and Tuming really not his match? When did this happen? Can someone tell me? Feng Wuhan was completely stunned. His mind couldn't help but tremble, especially when Lin Yi looked at him. Although it was an ordinary glance, it gave him a huge pressure. This kind of pressure almost crushed him. At this moment, he clearly understood that he had provoked a person that he absolutely could not afford to provoke. Looking at the countless prodigies below the nine-tier mountain who were gloating, he knew that most of the people present knew Lin Yi and knew how monstrous and powerful Lin Yi was. He was the only one who didn't know what the F***ck was going on. To think that he would meet a monster who pretended to be a pig to eat a tiger. 9th level of the Wanxiang realm, 16 years old. Pass the 9th mountain and enter the Heavenly Sea sect. The 6th peak of the 4th mountain. His defense and physique crushed Tuda and defeated Tuming instantly. Countless voices entered Feng Wuhan's ears. At this moment, he wished he could tear these people into pieces. Why didn't they tell him earlier if they knew? Now, he even had the heart to die. Bang! There was a dull thud. Feng Wuhan channeled all the true origin in his body, and the folding fan in his hand turned into dust. Lin Ye's words scared him. If he didn't like the way he held the folding fan, he might as well destroy it. If he didn't like him, he would destroy it too. Feng Wuhan, haha. Li Mingdu laughed out loud. At the same time, he was extremely envious. With a simple sentence, Wind Without Trace had no choice but to obediently destroy his fan. Li Mingdu, damn you. He's twice your age, but you call him senior brother so naturally. Feng Wuhan almost went berserk. If he could beat Li Mingdu, he would definitely give Li Mingdu a good beating. Senior brother Lin has passed the 9-tier mountain. I wonder how far he can go. The 6th peak of the 4th-tier mountain is already very powerful. After living for a few decades, I finally understand that true monsters keep a low profile. I just didn't expect senior brother Lin to be so good at keeping a low profile. Why would such a monster stay in the outer sect? There were more and more elites below the 9-tier mountain. Some of them were here to challenge the 9-tier mountain. Most of them knew that Lin Yi was going to challenge the 9-tier mountain, and came to watch the show. There were endless discussions and it was very lively. This is your second time challenging the 9-tier mountain. There's no need to repeat. Let's start from where we started last time. Lin Yi entered the 9-tier mountain. That familiar yet strange voice was heard. Last time, he passed the 6th peak of the 4th-tier mountain and lost at the 7th peak. In other words, he could start from the 7th peak of the 4th-tier mountain. As he nodded, his body flashed and he quickly flew toward the 9-tier mountain. Along the way, there was no pressure at all. It was as if he was running on flat ground. In just a short while, Lin Yi had arrived at the 7th peak of the 4th-tier mountain. Boom! As soon as he arrived at the 7th peak of the 4th-tier mountain, Lin Yi could already feel a destructive aura and pressure. It was the aura of a yin-yang realm. Moreover, it was the aura of a 3rd-level yin-yang realm elite. His cultivation had increased. When he was challenging the 4th-tier mountain, his opponents were already 3 levels higher than him. Now that he was at the 7th peak, he only had 7 opponents. 7 3rd-level yin-yang realm elites surrounded Lin Yi. The destructive power of yin and yang kept on twisting and tearing space apart as it crushed Lin Yi. It was as if they wanted to crush Lin Yi into pieces. Kill! Lin Yi roared as he attacked with the Skyflame's sacred blade. He channeled the starry sky divine art and a blade ray descended. The first elite fell. The second elite fell. In just 10 breaths, Lin Yi slashed out 3 times with the Skyflame's sacred blade in his hand. The 7th level of the tenfold destruction blade had the power to destroy the world. Finally, after he slashed out 3 times, the 7 3rd-level yin-yang realm elites had all disappeared. 4th tier mountain, 7th peak. He passed. In a flash, he headed toward the 8th peak. He cultivated the starry sky divine art. He had the soul-repressing cauldron in his mind. He had the terrifying divine will of a rank 39 that could ignore soul attacks and auras. So fast. Senior brother Lin passed the 7th peak. How long has it been? He already passed the 7th peak. He is indeed monstrous. He is only at the 9th level of the manifestation realm, and his opponents were 7 3rd-level yin-yang realm elite. I can't believe he passed it so quickly. 4th tier mountain, 7th peak. At the foot of the 9-tier mountain, many people stared at the crystal stone tablet. They were paying attention to Lin Ye's actions. They noticed that Lin Ye's name had risen a little. Behind his name was the 7th peak of the 4th-tier mountain. This discovery shocked countless people as they all looked at the crystal stone tablet. For a moment there was an uproar. However, what they did not expect was that in less than 100 breaths, Lin Ye's name changed again. 4th-tier mountain, 8th peak. Passed. 150 breaths passed. 4th-tier mountain, 9th peak. Passed. 15 minutes passed. 5th-tier mountain, 1st peak. Passed. 5th-tier mountain, 2nd peak. Passed. 5th-tier mountain, 3rd peak. Passed. 5th-tier mountain, 4th peak. Passed. Heavenly Sea Sect, 9-tier mountain. At this moment there was nothing but shock. However, no one made a sound as they were afraid of breaking the shocking scene. Everyone stared at the crystal stone tablet in a daze. Chapter 95. At this moment, Lin Ye's name had entered the 10th place on the crystal stone tablet. Not only did it spread below the 9th mountain, but it also spread throughout the Heavenly Sea Sect. Moreover, the 10 elders and sect leader of the Heavenly Sea Palace. They were all watching Lin Yi challenge the 9th mountain. 2 hours passed. Lin Yi had already surpassed the 5th mountain and entered the 6th mountain. There was only one person on the 6th mountain on the ranking. That person was Nangong Xia, who was ranked first on the prodigy roll. The 6th mountain. Lin Ye's figure flashed as he dashed toward the first peak of the 6th mountain. His battle intent was clear. He could clearly feel that his divine consciousness had become stronger. His body had also been tempered. Crack! At the first peak of the 6th mountain. Lin Yi had just arrived when a young expert at the 5th level of the yin-yang realm appeared. Although this young expert was only at the 5th level of the yin-yang realm, he gave off the feeling that he was not much weaker than Tuda. If he was outside, he would definitely be able to kill someone of the same level. The space cracked. Lin Yi did not hesitate at all as he slashed with the Skyflame's sacred saber in his hand. The saber radiance covered the sky as it charged toward the young expert. Whoosh! The young expert's figure turned into an afterimage and disappeared. The first peak of the 6th mountain. Pass. Lin Ye's figure flashed as he dashed up. Time passed by minute by minute. Countless prodigies of the Heavenly Sea Sect stared at the crystal stone tablet and held their breaths. They were afraid to break this quiet scene and break this dreamlike reality. There were already thousands of experts below the 9th mountain. These experts were all inner and outer sect members of the Heavenly Sea Sect. Everyone was curious. Would Lin Yi break the record of the 8th peak of the 6th mountain? He would surpass Nangong Xia, who was ranked first on the prodigy roll. The 2nd peak of the 6th mountain. Pass. The 3rd peak of the 6th mountain. Pass. The 4th peak of the 6th mountain. Pass. The 5th peak of the 6th mountain. Pass. The closer they got to the 8th peak of the 6th mountain, the more their hearts trembled. This was because the closer they were to the 8th peak of the 6th mountain, the more likely they were to break the record. Although Lin Yi hadn't broken the highest record yet. However, Lin Ye's speed in breaking through the 9th mountain had definitely broken all records. Not to mention that no one would be able to do it in the future, but it was definitely unprecedented. 6th mountain, 7th peak pass. 6th mountain, 8th peak pass. Finally, they arrived at the 8th summit. On the crystal stone tablet, 2 names were listed side by side. He was supreme and looked down on all heroes. One was Nangongxie. One was Lin Yi. Their names flickered with a blue radiance. At this moment, the countless geniuses of the Heavenly Sea sect who were watching Lin Yi attempt the 9th mountain couldn't help but cheer. They were so excited that they couldn't help themselves. Passed. I passed the 8th peak of the 6th mountain. Senior brother Lin has reached the 8th summit. Pass, pass. Cheers filled the air. Excitement, incomparable excitement. It was as if they had passed the 8th peak of the 6th mountain by themselves. After a short moment of cheering, the foot of the 9th mountain fell into silence again because Lin Yi hadn't failed and was still trying to break through the 9th mountain. At this moment, they were all waiting and looking forward to it. They were waiting to see if Lin Yi could surpass Nangongxie. Only by surpassing Nangongxie could he break the record. He didn't disappoint them. Soon, Lin Yi passed the 9th peak of the 6th mountain. 4 hours after Lin Yi entered the 9th mountain, Lin Yi successfully passed the 9th peak of the 6th mountain. In the next moment, boom! At the foot of the 9th mountain, on the crystal stone tablet, a dazzling purple radiance burst out. The purple radiance, with a mysterious aura, enveloped a radius of several miles. Lin Ye's name had surpassed the 6th stage and entered the 7th stage. The purple radiance was activated. The purple radiance brought with it a mysterious aura and caused a huge commotion. 7th mountain, 1st peak passed. Lin Yi, since the appearance of the 9th mountain, was the first to set foot on the 7th mountain. Purple Providence, its purple providence. The spiritual energy of the Tianhai sect has doubled. In the Tianhai Palace, the 10 great elders and the sect master. Seeing the changes on the crystal stone tablet and the purple radiance, they were stunned. After a short moment of shock, Great Elder Xue Shi opened his mouth and said, almost roaring. His face was extremely excited. This was something that only appeared in the legends of the Tianhai sect. The Tianhai sect had waited for countless tens of thousands of years and finally saw the purple providence. At this moment, they knew that the legend was not a legend, but a real existence. It was just that no one had activated the purple providence. At the same time, everyone felt that the spiritual energy of the Tianhai sect had doubled. A moment later, Lin Ye's name rose again. 7th mountain, 2nd peak passed. The purple radiance was even more intense. The spiritual energy of the Tianhai sect had doubled. 7th mountain, 3rd peak passed. The spiritual energy of the Tianhai sect had tripled. At this moment, countless experts of the Tianhai sect could clearly feel it. The Tianhai sect, in the entire Skysea realm, the spiritual energy was definitely the densest. Now that it was 3 times denser, one could imagine how dense and pure the spiritual energy of the Tianhai sect was. Just imagining it made people excited. Cultivating in such an environment would be faster. For a moment, the entire Tianhai sect, down to the ordinary outer sect disciples, up to the palace master, they were all looking forward to Lin Yi breaking through the 9th mountain. He had already broken the record and surpassed everything. At this moment, as long as he broke through a higher peak, the spiritual energy of the Tianhai sect would double. It would be immeasurably beneficial to the Tianhai sect and the members of the Tianhai sect. Finally, you have appeared. The inner sect of the Tianhai sect, 108 true disciples, Nangongxie. She was the number 1 on the prodigy list. She was the leader of the 108 true disciples. Looking in the direction of the 9th mountain, she said softly. 6 hours had passed since Lin Yi entered the 9th mountain. Lin Yi had successfully broken through the 9th peak of the 7th mountain. At the peak of the 9th peak of the 7th mountain. This is your reward. This is your responsibility. The mechanical voice was familiar yet strange. It came out from the magical light and reached Lin Ye's ears. Boom! Boom! The moment the mechanical voice fell, a drop of crystal-clear blood essence appeared in the light. The moment the blood essence appeared, the space collapsed and distorted, shattering inch by inch. A drop of blood essence had the power to destroy heaven and earth. Lin Yi was almost crushed to death by the terrifying power. He was killed by the reward. If word got out, he would be laughed at. However, Lin Yi was already stunned. Divine Dragon Blood Essence. Little guy, you're rich. In his sea of consciousness, Biluo's voice rang out. Her voice was extremely excited, as if she had seen a peerless treasure. This was the first time Lin Yi saw Biluo so excited. Her voice pulled him back to reality from his shock. Idiot. You can't take it. Hurry up and seal it. Just as Lin Yi was about to use the jade bottle to take the divine dragon blood essence, Biluo in his sea of consciousness hurriedly stopped him. She asked Lin Yi to seal the blood essence and not use the jade bottle to take the divine dragon blood essence. What kind of existence was the divine dragon? How powerful was it? The power of its blood essence was enough to destroy heaven and earth. A mere jade bottle could not contain the divine dragon blood essence at all. Luo Hua made a gong. Zhong. Chapter 96. 9 drops of divine dragon blood essence. It caused the space to shatter 9 times. Lin Yi spent a lot of effort and finally sealed the 9 drops of divine dragon blood essence. It seemed like a simple matter of not fighting, but it made him so tired that he almost collapsed to the ground. Fortunately, Biluo had taught him some sealing method. Otherwise, he would be in trouble this time. The divine dragon blood essence can temper my body. My divine dragon 9 transformations will definitely break through when the time comes. Lin Yi kept the divine dragon blood essence and said excitedly. He did not expect that the reward of the 7th mountain would be the divine dragon blood essence. The 9th mountain is not simple. It must be even more powerful up there, Biluo said. Actually, Lin Yi could imagine it without her saying it, because, starting from the 1st mountain, the higher one went, the more precious and rare the rewards would be. If the 7th mountain was the divine dragon blood essence, then what about the 8th and 9th mountains? It was unimaginable. His lack of experience limited his imagination. Let's go. Lin Ye's figure flashed and flew towards the first peak of the 8th mountain. Senior brother Lin has already passed the 9th peak of the 7th mountain. Could it be that he failed at the 8th mountain? It's been so long and there's no movement. It should be over. Even so, this is a natural chasm that no one can cross. The 7th mountain and 9th peak are a natural chasm that we can never cross. I really didn't expect such a heaven-defying monster to appear in the Heavenly Sea sect. The spiritual energy of the Heavenly Sea sect is 9 times richer. It changed the fate and future of the Heavenly Sea sect. This is a true heaven-defying monster. Not only did he become a monster, but he also changed a sect and a world. Below the 9th mountain, in the Heavenly Sea sect, all the elites of the Heavenly Sea sect thought that Lin Ye's limit was at the 9th peak of the 7th mountain. However, even so, it was still heaven-defying. It changed the fate of the Heavenly Sea sect and the cultivation environment of the Heavenly Sea sect. In the eyes of countless geniuses, Lin Yi was already an existence on par with Nangong Xie. However, Lin Ye's strength was not comparable to the top 10 geniuses. If not for this, Lin Yi would have surpassed everyone and become the eldest senior brother of the Tianhai sect, ruling over all the geniuses of the Tianhai sect. Boom! Just when everyone thought that Lin Yi had finished his attempt at the 9th peak, the crystal steel emitted a white light. The white light covered the entire heavenly sea sect. In the blink of an eye, the spirit chi in the heavenly sea sect was 20 times denser and purer than before. The spiritual chi of the heavenly sea sect was almost tangible. It was like a mist that lingered in the heavenly sea sect. Saint-level destiny. Haha, it's saint-level destiny. The saint-level destiny has been activated. The era of the heavenly sea sect is coming. Suddenly, 4 old men appeared in the Sky Sea Palace. The 4 old men did not emit any aura, but their faintly discernible aura caused the 10 elders and the palace master to tremble and subconsciously kneel down. Greetings, Supreme Elder. Greetings, Master. Greetings, Uncle Master. The 10 elders and the palace master bowed to the 4 old men. Their faces were filled with respect from the bottom of their hearts. They did not expect the Supreme Elder, who had been in seclusion, to be alerted. However, it was normal. This was a miracle of the heavenly sea sect. The legend of the heavenly sea sect had been sealed. Gradually, as time passed, the legend of the miracle faded away. Now, the miracle had come true. It was like a dream. Let's see what level he can reach. I did not expect the heavenly sea sect to have such a day. The leader of the 4 supreme elders, Yunfeng Wu Lai. He looked at the crystal screen in the Sky Sea Palace and said. The other 3 old men were also looking at the crystal screen. Seeing this, the 10 elders and the palace master could only suppress the excitement in their hearts and look at the crystal screen. After passing the first peak of the 8th peak, Lin Yi dashed towards the 2nd peak. The opponents on the 8th peak were all 7 levels higher than him. In other words, his opponents were all super existences at the 7th level of Yin-Yang realm. Moreover, these opponents were not ordinary experts. All of them were basically invincible in their own level. All of them were as strong as Tu Ta. They were even stronger than Tu Ta. On the 2nd peak of the 8th peak, there were 2 super experts at the 7th level of Yin-Yang realm. The same Skyfire Sacred Saber, the same 10th level Destruction Saber, the Heavenly Emperor Fist, and the Skyfrost Aurora. They were invincible. 3rd peak pass. 4th peak pass. 5th peak pass. 6th peak pass. 7th peak pass. 8th peak pass. On the 9th peak of the 8th peak, Lin Ye's 10th level Destruction Saber had reached the 8th level. With the wings of space, the Heavenly Emperor Fist, and the Skyfrost Aurora, he finally killed all 9 young experts at the 7th level of Yin-Yang realm. When Lin Yi killed the last young expert, the anticipation in his heart reached its limit. He wanted to know what reward he would get on the 8th peak. Congratulations on reaching the peak of the 8th peak. This is your reward, and also your responsibility. The familiar yet strange voice sounded again. This voice made him happy, because every time he heard this voice, he would get a reward, a magical and precious reward. Crack! In the light, a drop of essence blood appeared. When the essence blood appeared, the space trembled and cracked. Lin Yi could no longer stand and knelt down. This drop of essence blood was like an almighty expert who could destroy the world. It almost suffocated him. He couldn't fight against it at all. His mind trembled. Sacred blood. The great sage's blood. It has the great sage's saint path domain and rules. Biluo's voice sounded in Lin Ye's mind. This time, it wasn't as shocking as the last time. However, Lin Yi was even more shocked and excited than the last time. Because to him, the sacred blood was the real treasure. After getting the sacred blood and refining it, he could comprehend the saint path domain and rules. 1 drop, 2 drops, 3 drops, a total of 9 drops of sacred blood. At first, Biluo wasn't very excited or shocked. However, when the 2nd drop of sacred blood appeared, she was really shocked, because she found that the 9 drops of sacred blood were different. In other words, the 9 drops of sacred blood were 9 different domains and rules. How did the Heavenly Sea sect find 9 drops of sacred blood? And it was 9 drops of the great sage's blood. Indeed, it was hard for people to guess, and it was shocking. Lin Yi was happy and excited. At the same time, he was puzzled. Why did the voice always say, "This is your reward and your responsibility," when it gave him the reward? What was his responsibility? What was his responsibility? After putting away the sacred blood, Lin Yi rested for a while. His eyes looked toward the ninth mountain. Whoosh! There was a sound of something breaking through the air. His figure flew toward the ninth mountain. Every step on the ninth mountain was extremely difficult. It could be said that every step took him a long time. The starry sky divine art was activated to its peak. The 39th step divine mind was activated. The soul suppression cauldron spun and blocked the soul attack. One step, one step. After some time, he finally reached the first peak of the ninth mountain. Boom! A young man appeared. He was at the 8th level of the yin-yang realm. His cultivation was comparable to Tu Ming's. Seeing his opponent's cultivation, Lin Yi let out a sigh of relief. Chapter 97. At the top of the first peak of the ninth mountain, Lin Yi unleashed a wave of saber gleams. 64 peerless saber gleams covered the sky and crushed his opponent. After the saber gleams, there was a heavenly frost aurora. An 8th-level yin-yang realm expert, whose strength was comparable to Tu Ming's, had fallen. After defeating his opponent cleanly, Lin Yi passed through the first peak of the ninth mountain. However, below the ninth mountain, while countless geniuses were shocked, most of them were puzzled. Because Lin Ye's name had reached the highest point on the crystal stele, which was the ninth step. A faint black light flickered, making Lin Ye's name look even more mysterious and magical. However, what puzzled countless prodigies was, logically speaking, there should be a heavenly omen when Lin Yi entered the ninth mountain. The ninth mountain was the highest mountain, but now, there was nothing special. Not only them, but even the 10 great elders and sect leader of the Heavenly Sea Palace, as well as the 4 supreme elders, were puzzled. They did not know what was going on. Was the ninth mountain extremely magical? No matter how they looked at it, this should not be. Time passed by second. Every half an hour, Lin Yi would pass through a peak. Midnight. This was 14 hours after Lin Yi entered the ninth mountain. Although it was midnight, the Heavenly Sea sect was still brightly lit. Countless prodigies were still below the ninth mountain. This was destined to be a sleepless night. At this moment, all the Heavenly Sea sect members were looking at the crystal stele in anticipation, waiting for the miracle to appear. This was because Lin Yi was about to reach the top. He was about to reach the ninth peak of the ninth mountain. Rumble! Rumble! Countless prodigies were waiting below the ninth mountain. At the top of the ninth mountain, the battle was extremely fierce. Lin Yi floated in the air. His body was covered in wounds, and blood kept flowing out. He looked as if he had just come out from hell. The Celestial Emperor Fist had reached the peak of the 3rd level. Heavenly Frost Aurora, 2nd level. Sky-Destroying Finger, 2nd level. Tenfold Destruction Blade, 8th level. His cultivation and strength had improved tremendously, all of which had been forced out of him during the great battle. The battle lasted for an hour. However, there were still 4 survivors. However, he had already reached his limit. Biluo, can you lend me your power? Lin Yi asked Biluo unwillingly. This was already the 9th peak of the 9th mountain. As long as he killed these 4 experts, he would successfully reach the peak. No. I'm being suppressed by a mysterious aura. Biluo's voice made Lin Yi despair. He believed that if Biluo lent him her power, he would definitely be able to kill the 4 of them. However, at this moment Biluo was being suppressed. Biluo was in his sea of consciousness, yet she was still being suppressed. He couldn't even begin to imagine how terrifying the peak of the 9th mountain was. However, he didn't have the time to think about it. Kill! Lin Ye's fighting spirit soared as he looked at the 4 experts. Even if he couldn't reach the top this time, he could still try again. Thinking of this, he also let go. They went all out, fighting to the death. In the face of death, one must either succeed or die trying. Boom! One of the experts was blasted apart by Lin Ye's fist. However, one of Lin Ye's legs was cut off. In an instant, Lin Yi had killed another expert, but he had also paid the price of an arm. Roar! At this moment, the soul-repressing cauldron in Lin Ye's sea of consciousness began to spin. His divine telekinesis began to vibrate like a tsunami. His divine telekinesis had reached a critical point and finally broke through. His domineering divine telekinesis had reached the 40th rank. His divine telekinesis had reached the 40th rank. His divine telekinesis had reached the refined void realm. With a roar, his terrifying divine telekinesis attack destroyed two experts. The breakthrough of his divine telekinesis instantly destroyed his opponent. He didn't even have the time to change his opponent's cultivation before it was over. He had never used his divine telekinesis. His opponents on the 9th mountain had always thought that he was at the 9th level of the manifestation realm. However, when he suddenly used his divine telekinesis at the 39th level was already at the 9th level of the yin-yang realm. Now that he had broken through to the 40th level and reached the refined void realm, his opponents should have been at the 9th level of the refined void realm. Unfortunately, his opponents were destroyed before they could change their strength. The battle had ended. His cheating ended in an instant. Boom! A beam of 9-colored radiance shot out from the peak of the 9th mountain. The 9-colored radiance formed a beam of light that shot into the sky. At this moment, the 9-colored radiance from the peak of the 9th mountain connected the sky and the earth. The commotion spread to a radius of 3,000 miles around Tianhai City. The night sky of the entire Tianhai City was filled with 9 colors. It was mystical and beautiful, like a boundless paradise. Countless experts in Tianhai City looked into the sky at this moment. All the members of the Tianhai sect were extremely excited. The entire Tianhai sect was enveloped in the 9-colored radiance. At this moment, the Tianhai sect's spiritual qi was 30 times denser. Countless geniuses had broken through out of nowhere, and many of them had even obtained mysterious talents. Hum, 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 hum. Mysterious runes flashed in the air. Every divine inscription was a mystical cultivation technique or martial technique. Every formation pattern was a kind of mystical talent. Every rune was a miraculous opportunity. The Tianhai sect ordered all the prodigies to take advantage of the moment when the miracle appeared to comprehend it, hoping to obtain the martial arts techniques in the miracle, or to obtain the talents and opportunities, because the miracle did not appear for long. The shocking miracle of the Tianhai sect made the members of the Tianhai sect immersed in excitement. The experts and martial artists of Tianhai City also looked at the sky in shock, while the main character who caused this scene was Lin Yi. At this moment, he was enveloped in the 9-colored radiance. His entire person was being tempered by the mystical 9-colored radiance. Around him were endless saint path precepts and domains, mysterious aura, mysterious everything. His injuries were instantly healed. His energy and spirit were restored to their peak. At this moment, powerful information poured into his mind. Fortunately, his divine will was strong and he had the soul suppression cauldron. Otherwise, this information alone was enough to make him disappear. He did not know how long had passed. The 9-colored radiance disappeared. However, there was still a faint 9-colored radiance in the Tianhai sect. In his mind, countless pieces of information were slowly being sorted out. A divine artifact from the 9 Heavens Divine Sect. The one who obtains the 9 Heavens Divine Watchtower is the ruler of the 9 Heavens Divine Sect. The 9 Heavens Divine Watchtower is self-healing and immortal. He digested it for 2 hours. Lin Yi finally had a simple understanding of all the information. The Nine Heavens Divine Sect was not an item from the Tian High realm, but from another world, from a sect called the Nine Heavens Divine Sect. In the Nine Heavens Divine Sect, it was a divine artifact. The Nine Heavens Divine Watchtower was the name of the divine artifact. After refining the Nine Heavens Divine Watchtower, one would have a self-healing body. As long as one's soul was not destroyed, it would automatically heal. In his line of sight there was a palm-sized disc. The disc was neither gold nor jade. He did not know what material it was made of. With a thought, the disc appeared in front of him. Chapter 98. Biluo, can you tell what this Nine Heavens God Watchtower is? Lin Yi looked at the palm-sized disc in front of him. There was confusion and doubt in his eyes. It was neither gold nor jade, but in Lin Yi's eyes, it was a round jade pendant. However, the information in his mind told him that this was the Nine Heavens God Watchtower, the most precious treasure of the Nine Heavens Divine Sect. Moreover, it was a divine artifact of heaven and earth. Whoever had it would be the ruler of the Nine Heavens Divine Sect. And there was something about a self-healing body. I've never heard of it. But I've heard of a self-healing body. There's a heaven-defying object in the demon clan. At its peak, it's impossible to kill because it can heal itself instantly. Even if it's cut into pieces, it can recover instantly. This is a self-healing body. Biluo also didn't know about the Nine Heavens God Watchtower. There was a trace of hesitation in her voice, which Lin Yi felt. However, Lin Yi didn't say it out loud. A self-healing body. If I have it, I can also heal myself instantly. Lin Yi was extremely excited. It was common for experts to be injured. If the injury was too serious, it would directly affect their combat strength, or they would lose their combat strength. However, if they could heal themselves instantly, they would basically be able to fight indefinitely. Moreover, the soul suppression cauldron guaranteed that the divine soul wouldn't be destroyed. Now, with a self-healing body, as long as the divine soul wasn't destroyed, it would be immortal. This was simply tailor-made for him. Two of the most magical existences were in his hand. Although the Nine Heavens God Watchtower is a divine artifact of heaven and earth, but now it seems to be a heaven-defying auxiliary divine artifact. Usually, auxiliary divine artifacts are even more heaven-defying. Strike while the iron is hot and try to refine the Nine Heavens God Watchtower. Biluo's voice sounded. She was also stunned by Lin Yi's luck and heaven-defying ability. She was curious about what kind of existence Lin Yi was. Indeed, Lin Yi sat cross-legged. At this moment, his divine sense had reached the 40th level, and his essence, qi, and spirit had reached the peak state. With a wave of his hand, a stream of energy sliced his finger open. He circulated the starry sky divine art and extracted a drop of blood essence from his body. Blood essence was no ordinary blood. Every drop of blood essence contained the essence of an animal. At most, one could refine 3 drops of blood essence at a time. However, if all 3 drops were used, one would be almost crippled. Even if he only took out a drop of blood essence, it would take a very long time for an expert to recover. The essence blood contained a person's essence, energy, and spirit. His divine soul and divine spirit were condensed within. Qi, the drop of blood, landed on the Nine Heavens God Watchtower, and it immediately made a soft sound. In an instant, a terrifying aura erupted from the Nine Heavens God Tower, enveloping Lin Yi within. The aura was mystical and mysterious. Gradually, Lin Yi's mind connected with the Nine Heavens God Tower. The Nine Heavens God Tower floated above Lin Yi's head and rotated continuously. Mystical light and aura continuously flowed into Lin Yi's body. At this moment Lin Yi endured the tempering of the mysterious aura, and his body was constantly changing. It was instantly destroyed. It was instantly recovered. It kept repeating. Lin Yi was completely between destruction and recovery. The pain was so painful that it almost made him collapse. However, this pain was so deep that it almost penetrated his soul. Perhaps this was what it felt like to be unable to die. Time passed by minute. 1 day passed. 2 days passed. Countless experts gathered at the foot of the 9 heavens God Tower. These experts were completely immersed in enlightenment and cultivation. Although the miracles had disappeared, countless experts had obtained talents, cultivation techniques, and martial arts techniques from the miracles. These were all things that could only be found by chance. The spiritual energy in the Heavenly Sea sect was 30 times more than before. Moreover, in several forbidden areas of the Heavenly Sea sect, there were dozens of divine inscriptions. These had been left in the Heavenly Sea sect. The disciple recruitment assessment was still ongoing. The omen of the appearance of the Heavenly Sea sect was known by the entire Heavenly Sea City. For a time, there was a lot of discussion in Heavenly Sea City. The competition among the experts participating in the assessment was even more intense. This was because they had received news that the spiritual energy in the Heavenly Sea sect was 30 times richer. A miracle had appeared in the Heavenly Sea sect, and the peak era of the Heavenly Sea sect had arrived. Young Master, the sect master has orders. Eliminate Lin Yi and Nangong Xia at all costs. In a mansion in Heavenly Sea City. The entire mansion was gloomy. Sitting on the main seat in the hall was a young man in his early 20s. The young man reclined on the chair, looking incomparably carefree. A mysterious mark flickered between his eyebrows from time to time, giving off a demonic and evil feeling. He was the young master of the demonic sect, the 9th young master, Yan Wuxin. In the demonic sect, there were more than 30 young masters. These young masters were all monstrous geniuses, and their strength was invincible among their peers. Yan Wuxin was one of the top existences among these young masters. Moreover, he had a very strong backer. His master was the current sect master of the demonic sect, the 7 Knights Demon King. Master wants to eliminate Lin Yi and Nangong Xia. Master doesn't have to value a mere Lin Yi so much. But that Nangong Xia is indeed a terrifying figure. Yan Wuxin sat up straight, a trace of surprise on his face. What kind of status did his master have? He was a figure with heaven-defying cultivation. He didn't care about ordinary humans at all. He didn't expect that he would want to eliminate a mere human junior. If it was Nangong Xia, he wouldn't be surprised. After all, Nangong Xia was the #1 monstrous genius of the Heavenly Sea sect in countless tens of thousands of years. As for Lin Yi, he was just a decent prodigy. This is the sect master's order. Young master, didn't that Lin Yi snatch the treasure you wanted? This time we can eliminate him. The sect master has already arranged it. As long as young master kills Nangong Xia and Lin Yi, someone will escort young master out of Heavenly Sea City. Didn't young master want to go to the Heavenspan Demon Tower? The sect master has also given you a spot. The one who spoke was a black-robed old man. His entire body was wrapped in pitch-black demonic chi, and his appearance couldn't be seen at all. Young master, Lord Heavenly Demon's secret order. Similarly, in Heavenly Sea City, the demon sect was hiding here. However, this place was still very far away from the Heavenly Sea sect. They didn't dare to approach the Heavenly Sea sect because their auras were demonic auras. For a powerful existence like the Heavenly Sea sect, getting close to the Heavenly Sea sect was undoubtedly courting death. The one who spoke was a strong demon sect expert. From the outside, strong experts were no different from ordinary humans. Only when they were fighting would they emit demonic aura and demonic power, revealing their true identity. Speak. The 11th young master of the demon sect, Ao Lai. He was ranked 6th among the young masters of the demon sect. For the treasure in the secret realm, he sneaked into Heavenly Sea City. In fact, it wasn't considered sneaking into Heavenly Sea City. Even if they entered Heavenly Sea City openly, the Heavenly Sea sect wouldn't do anything to them. After all, they were only disciples of the demon sect. The Heavenly Sea sect, the demon sect, and the demon sect. The three forces had an agreement that cultivators of the void refinement realm could not fight against cultivators of the yin-yang realm. The matters of the juniors would be settled by the juniors. Moreover, the experts at the void refining realm from the devil god religion and the devil god religion could also enter the Heavenly Sea city, but they couldn't fight in the city. As long as the experts at the void refining realm from the devil god religion and the devil god religion attacked, they would be killed by the Heavenly Sea sect. Of course, human disciples could also go to the territory of the demon sect and the demon sect. Kill Lin Yi and Nangong Xia. At all costs. Chapter 99. The miracle in the Heavenly Sea sect shocked the entire Heavenly Sea city. The experts of the devil god religion and the demonic sect who were hiding in Heavenly Sea city had already reported what had happened that day. The people of Heavenly Sea city were naturally happy. Because the Heavenly Sea sect was more powerful, they had more confidence to resist the demonic sect and the devil god religion. Some were happy while others were sad. The people of Heavenly Sea city were happy, but the people of the devil god religion and the demonic sect were not. Originally, the three forces restrained each other, and no one could suppress the other. Now that a miracle had happened, although it could not affect the devil god religion and the demonic sect in a short time, the Heavenly Sea sect would become more and more powerful as time passed. The devil god religion and the demonic sect did not want to see this happen. For a moment, the atmosphere was very tense. In Heavenly Sea city, the recruitment of disciples of the Heavenly Sea sect was coming to an end. Today, the 3,000 spots had been decided. Of the 3,000 spots, 100 would be inner disciples, and the rest would be outer disciples. Welcome to the Heavenly Sea sect. From today onwards, you are a member of the Heavenly Sea sect. Originally, the recruitment was the responsibility of the External Affairs Elder. However, when the recruitment was over, one of the 10 great elders of the Heavenly Sea Palace, Xue Shi, appeared and announced in person. Yan Wuxin from the demonic zone. I'm here to visit the Heavenly Sea sect. Just as Xue Shi announced the end of the recruitment, a loud voice sounded in the Heavenly Sea square. As soon as the voice sounded, a huge black flying demonic beast flapped its wings and flew over. It was so fast that it arrived above the Heavenly Sea square in the blink of an eye. A young man stood on the back of the flying demonic beast. Behind the young man were 2 old men and an old woman. The one who spoke was the young expert standing at the front. The young man was very handsome, but a mysterious mark flashed between his eyebrows, making him look mysterious and evil. He glanced at the experts in the square. The experts who looked at the young man all felt a wave of negative emotions in their hearts. He's from the demonic sect. Yan Wuxin, the young master of the demonic sect. Legend has it that Yan Wuxin reached the peak of the yin-yang realm 5 years ago. In order to cultivate the Qiankuan demonic technique, he has been suppressing his realm. Otherwise, he would have been an expert in the void realm. Even if he hasn't reached the void refinement realm, he's definitely invincible in the yin-yang realm. He can even rival an ordinary void refinement realm expert. Yan Wuxin dared to come to Sky Sea City. How audacious! On the square, countless people recognized Yan Wuxin. He knew Yan Wuxin's identity. This young man was the 9th young master of the demonic sect. Since you're here, get down here. Is the devil cult really so impolite? Although Yan Wuxin was the young master of the demonic sect, he was still a yin-yang junior. The powerhouses of the Heavenly Sea sect naturally did not hold it against him. Of course, just because the cultivators of the Tianhai sect didn't bother with him didn't mean that the other geniuses of the Tianhai sect wouldn't show up. The other party had come to challenge the geniuses of the Tianhai sect. At this moment, a young man in white appeared in the Heavenly Sea sect. In the blink of an eye, The young man in white appeared on a high platform. The white-clothed young man's sleeves fluttered in the wind. His expression was ice-cold, and there was not the slightest bit of emotion in it. From start to finish, he did not look at Yan Wuxin, who was in the air. Instead, he was looking at the longsword in his hand. When he looked at the longsword, it was as if he was looking at his beloved. Senior Brother Jian Fan. Senior Brother Jian Fan. Senior Brother Jian Fan. The appearance of the white-clothed young man instantly caused the geniuses in the square to cheer. Countless sky prides looked at Jian Fan with admiration. That's right, he was Jian Fan. Jian Fan, who was ranked 9th on the genius roll, was born for the sword. He was born to be a sword Dao powerhouse, and he could destroy heaven and earth with just a swing of his sword. Although he was ranked 9th, no one actually knew how powerful he was. This was because the sword Dao itself was the most terrifying attack. It was basically invincible among those of the same level. Moreover, he was a monster born for the sword. His strength was even more terrifying. His cultivation base could no longer measure his strength. 9th level Yin-Yang stage. It was said that he could fight a first-level void refinement stage powerhouse. A peak first-level void refinement stage powerhouse from the demonic sect had died under his sword. You can't even take one move from me. Because you're too weak. Where's Nangong Xia? Ask her to come out. Yan Wuxin glanced at Jian Fan from the back of the flying demonic beast, and said nonchalantly. His tone was extremely domineering. He did not take Jian Fan seriously at all. In other words, Jian Fan was not qualified to fight with him. He did not come for any of the Heavenly Sea Sect's geniuses. He came for Nangong Xia. Nangong Xia was the true monster. Even the young master of the demonic sect and the young master of the demon celestial sect did not dare to say that they were a match for Nangong Xia. There were 3 monstrous geniuses in the 3 forces. The first young master of the demonic sect, An Yi. The first young master of the demon celestial sect, Demon Prison. The first monster of the Heavenly Sea sect, Nangong Xia. Of course, these were the top 3 monstrous geniuses of this generation. Huff, the square was filled with sighs. Countless angry eyes looked at Yan Wuxin in the air. How powerful was Jian Fan? How could he say that Jian Fan could not take one move from him? Was this not an insult to the Heavenly Sea sect? It was an insult to all humans. Jian Fan's face was still emotionless. Instead, his heart was even colder. He looked at Yan Wuxin in the air coldly with his sharp eyes. Then, he flashed away. He disappeared from where he was. When he reappeared, he was already at the center of the Heavenly Sea Sect's Colosseum. This Colosseum was the biggest Colosseum in the Heavenly Sea City. It was 1,000 meters long, 1,000 meters wide, and 100 meters tall. The Colosseum was built with mystical stones. There were ancient runes on it. Not even those at the refined void realm could move it, let alone those at the Yin-Yang realm. Come down and fight. Jian Fan's voice was heard. He did not want to argue. Facts spoke louder than words. The Colosseum was the place to test one's strength. Going up to the Colosseum was a challenge. At that moment, countless powerful warriors in the square looked at Yan Wuxin. They did not know if Yan Wuxin would accept the challenge or if Yan Wuxin was more powerful than Jian Fan. One move. Yan Wuxin's eyes were bloodshot. There was a bloodthirsty smile on his face. It was a smile that was terrifying. When his voice was heard, he had already disappeared from the back of the demonic beast. When he reappeared, he was in the air. His body floated strangely in the air. The speed of his descent was very slow. At that moment, a ball of black demonic qi appeared in Yan Wuxin's hand. The demonic qi distorted the space and corroded the spiritual qi. With unparalleled power, it charged towards Jian Fan, who was on the fighting stage. At that moment, heaven and earth trembled. The originally clear sky changed color and turned dark. It was as if the end of the world had arrived. It was suffocating. This is true demonic qi. Oh no, Jian Fan, retreat. The elites of the Heavenly Sea sect were shocked. They all knew that Yan Wuxin was powerful, but they did not expect him to be so terrifying. His first move was earth-shattering. There were many elders of the Heavenly Sea sect present. Chapter 100. In the past, countless experts of the Heavenly Sea sect had suffered in front of the true demonic qi. They knew the terror of the true demonic qi. Therefore, they hurriedly told Jian Fan to retreat and not take it head-on. But it was too late now. Jian Fan's face was solemn. He was a demon, a super demon, and his pride was unparalleled. At the same time, he was not a fool. He knew that Yan Wuxin's method was terrifying and overbearing. It made him feel the threat of death. This was the first time he felt the threat of death. It was too late for him to retreat. Besides, he took the initiative to fight Yan Wuxin. If he retreated like this, it would undoubtedly be cowardice. If he no longer had the heart of an expert, how could he face the experts of the Heavenly Sea realm in the future? More importantly, it would leave behind an inner demon that would affect his future cultivation. Clang Jian Fan's face was solemn. His eyes finally left the long sword in his hand and looked at Yan Wuxin, who was descending from the sky. He waved the long sword in his hand in a strange manner. Suddenly, a shocking sword intent erupted from Jian Fan's body. The sword will and the long sword merged into one. With him as the center, the space within a radius of 1,000 meters was distorted and cracked. The power was shocking. Then, he turned into an unparalleled sword light and went to meet the true demonic qi. The sword radiance was unparalleled, and everything in its path turned into nothingness. In an instant, the sword radiance and the true demonic qi collided. Boom! In the square, there were millions of experts and geniuses. All eyes were fixed on the collision between the sword radiance and the true demonic qi. For a moment, everyone was nervous and their hearts were in their throats. Pucci, in the instant of collision, the demonic qi raged. The sword radiance shot out in all directions. The dark demonic qi and the dazzling sword radiance made people unable to open their eyes. In the demonic qi there was the sound of blood spurting out. Then, a figure was sent flying and fell. He fell heavily on the battle stage. Jian Fan was defeated. He was indeed not a match for Yan Wuxin. Blood kept flowing from the corner of Jian Fan's mouth. His body was overflowing with sword intent. His spirit was extremely weak. If not for the trace of vitality, people would have thought that he was dead. Jian Fan was pale with one blow. Moreover, Jian Fan was seriously injured by the true demonic qi, which seriously affected his future cultivation. The true demonic qi remained in his body. Even an expert at the voiding realm could not force the true demonic qi out of his body. He could only rely on his own luck. I told you, you can't even take a single move from me. Who else wants to fight? Yan Wuxin had already landed on the battle stage. Although he was a monster, he was still in the yin-yang realm and could not fly. Being able to slow down the speed of the descent was already very heaven-defying. The true devil qi is indeed very strong. Yan Wuxin, you're really fast. The geniuses of the Heavenly Sea sect started to worry when they saw how powerful Yan Wuxin was. Even Jian Fan wasn't able to withstand a single blow from him. Then, other than the number 1 on the Heaven's Pride ranking, Nangong Xie, and the number 2 Zhong Yushu, who else could fight against Yan Wuxian? However, Nangong Xie had always lived in seclusion. It was simply impossible for her to fight. As for Zhong Yushu, it was said that he was cultivating in seclusion. As for the others, they simply did not have the strength to fight against Yan Wuxin. If they went up against him, they would only be asking for humiliation, unable to withstand a single blow. At this moment, a voice appeared in the sky. His voice was extremely loud and clear. It came from afar and shook the eardrums of the powerhouses present. Boom! In the blink of an eye, in the sky above the Heavenly Sea Sect's square, A huge flying demonic beast appeared. The flying demonic beast was covered in raging flames. Even the air was burning. On the back of the flaming demonic beast stood a young man and a tall, middle-aged powerhouse. Both of them exuded explosive energy, giving off a strong visual impact. The 11th young master of the demon god sect, Aolai. He's at the same level as Yen Wuxin. They fought a few times and were evenly matched. I didn't expect Yen Wuxin and Aolai to appear in Heavenly Sea City at the same time. The 11th young master of the demon god sect is comparable to an ordinary second-level void refinement stage martial artist. There are at least 8,000 human powerhouses who have died in his hand. Those who fell into his hands were all eaten by him. On the square, countless people who knew the young man on the back of the huge demonic beast discussed. The super geniuses of the three forces knew each other. The young man who had just appeared was one of the young masters of the demon god sect, Aolai. His cultivation was extremely terrifying. What made people remember him was his brutality and methods. He defeated human powerhouses, tore them into pieces, and devoured them as a meal. Of course, in this world where the strong were respected, the law of the jungle was like this. Humans hunted demonic beasts and refined their skins into battle armors, their blood into pills, their bones into weapons, and their meat as a meal on a plate. Humans ate demonic beasts, and demonic beasts ate humans. Aolai, why do you still want to fight me? But I don't have time to play with you today. Yen Wuxin looked indifferently at Aolai, who was nearby, and said. He knew in his heart that he was getting stronger every second, and so was his opponent. In this world, being a genius was a kind of capital. However, if one did not work hard, one would be left behind by one's opponent and by this world. A genius was improving himself every second. If he was not careful, he would be left behind by an opponent of the same level. Similarly, I don't have time to play with you today. Where's Nangong Xia? No matter how bad it is, Zhong Yushu can come out and play. Aolai exuded a domineering demonic aura. In his human form, he was handsome and unrestrained. He was a peerless handsome man. However, the demonic aura and evilness on his body made people see at a glance that he was not a human, but an ugly demon. As he spoke, his eyes swept across the human prodigies as if he wanted to find Nangong Xia. Since you came to my Sky Sea City, you have to abide by the rules of my Sky Sea sect. Get down. Xue Shi spoke. From the arrival of the demonic sect's young master Yen Wuxin to defeating Jian Fan, the experts of the Sky Sea sect did not say a word. Now, the people of the demon god cult and the demonic sect were still sitting on flying demonic beasts. The demonic beasts were floating in the air, giving people a feeling of superiority. As he spoke, a terrifying aura erupted from Xue Shi's body. With one hand, he strangely pressed in the air. Instantly, a destructive aura exploded, and the space shattered. The two demonic beasts in the air screamed, and could no longer float in the air. They fell involuntarily. Even the super experts on the back of the demonic beasts were unable to control the fall of the demonic beasts. They could only leave the demonic beasts and hover in the air. However, they did not last long before they were pressed down by the mysterious power. Experts at the Void Refinement Realm. Yes, the experts with Aolai were at the Void Refinement Realm. The old man and woman with the young master of the demonic sect were also at the Void Refinement Realm. And they were all extremely terrifying experts at the Void Refinement Realm. When one reached the Void Refinement Realm, they could fly in the air. However, in Sky Sea City, the Sky Sea sect was the master. They had absolute control. Although Xue Shi was powerful, he could not suppress several experts of the same level with one hand. The method he used was to mobilize the magical defensive power of Sky Sea City and directly suppress several experts at the Void Refinement Realm. Xue Shi, do you want to fight? Among the experts of the demonic sect, The old woman was holding a strange walking stick. There was a skull on the walking stick. The skull was blood-red and disgusting, emitting waves of evil aura. She looked at Xue Shuyi coldly with her small evil eyes and asked. Chapter 101. Fight! You want to do it in Heaven Sea City? Xue Shuyi said with a smile on his face. As the leader of the 10 great elders, his cultivation and strength were unparalleled. Even the experts of the demon god cult and the demon god cult were no match for him, so he naturally wouldn't be afraid of fighting. Not to mention in Heaven Sea City, he wouldn't hesitate even if he was in other places. Besides, this was Heaven Sea City. If they fought, he would have an absolute advantage. Juniors are sparring. Xue Shuyi, are you going to interfere? One of the elders of the demon god cult spoke. He indeed didn't dare to fight in Heaven Sea City. His purpose this time was to protect the young master and complete the young master's task. Unless it was a last resort, he wouldn't fight with the experts of the Heavenly Sea sect in Heaven Sea City. Once they fought, they would basically stay in Heaven Sea City forever. Since it's a sparring between juniors, then we won't interfere. But this is Heaven Sea City. Be quiet. Xue Shuyi said indifferently. Since they were in Heaven Sea City, they had to abide by the rules. Is Nangong Xie still not coming out? Is she afraid? Aolai said loudly. He looked around but didn't see Nangong Xie. You are no match for senior sister Nangong. Let me tell you, you are not on the same level as senior sister Nangong. 7th on the genius list, Yu Yufeng. His figure flashed and appeared on the fighting ring. He said indifferently, the genius of the Heavenly Sea sect had to fight, even if it meant death. Humph. She broke through the yin-yang realm? Well, you can go down too. Aolai's expression changed. He understood the meaning of Yu Yufeng's words. He was no match for Nangong Xie. If Nangong Xie reached the void refinement realm, he was indeed not qualified to fight with her. If Nangong Xie fought, he would die. At this time, he was sure that it was impossible to kill Nangong Xie. As he spoke, he threw a punch at Yu Yufeng. On the peak of the 9th mountain, Lin Yi finally walked out of the unbearable pain. He didn't know how long he had been tortured. It was too difficult to refine the 9th Heaven God Tower. From the start of the refinement, he had been in constant pain. His entire body was in a state of destruction and rebirth. This cycle was repeated over and over again. In his opinion, even the 18 layers of hell would be much more comfortable than this. If he had to choose again, he would really hesitate whether or not he should refine the 9 Heavens God Tower. Fortunately, the 9 Heavens God Tower was finally refined. It had completely merged into his body. He had finally broken through to the manifestation realm. At this moment, Lin Ye's cultivation had reached the peak of the 5th level of the yin-yang realm. He was very curious to what extent his strength had reached. Let's see if you have cultivated a self-healing body. Biluo's voice sounded in his mind. She was also curious as to whether Lin Yi had succeeded. You know, what Lin Yi obtained was a universal divine artifact. In order to refine this divine tool, Lin Yi had been tortured for 7 days and 7 nights, making him beg for death. Under such inhumane pain, Lin Yi had persevered. If the harvest was not proportional to the pain, then it would be a waste. Qi Lin Yi was also curious. He stretched out his hand, and a strong wind swept past his arm. Immediately, a deep wound appeared on his arm. However, the wound disappeared the moment it appeared. It was as if it had never appeared. If he hadn't been looking at his arm, he wouldn't have believed that there was a wound on his arm. This self-healing speed was too unbelievable. He didn't even see the wound and it healed. It is indeed magical. Your self-healing body. Perhaps it has reached the level of destruction and rebirth. Injuries can be healed instantly. Biluo said in his mind. Her tone was extremely shocked. With such a self-healing body, he was almost immortal. Any attack that injured him would instantly heal him. Unless the opponent was strong to a certain extent, he wouldn't even have the chance to self-heal. Will I die if my head falls off? Lin Yi had a question in his mind. No matter how strong the opponent was, he could kill them. There were a few fatal spots on a person's body: dantian, head, and heart. As long as he was seriously injured in these three places, he could die. Now that he had a self-healing body, he didn't know if he would die if he was hit in the head by a strong opponent. It shouldn't be. Have you noticed? After you refined the Empyrean God Watchtower, your life gate is no longer there. In other words, there is no fatal spot on you. The only fatal spot is the destruction of your soul. But your soul is guarded by the soul suppression cauldron and a powerful divine will. Biluo reminded Lin Yi. She found that after Lin Yi refined the Empyrean God Watchtower, there was no more life gate on him. In other words, the opponent couldn't kill him even if they attacked his heart and head. I do have this feeling. My divine will has reached level 40. I have to cultivate 1 or 2 types of divine will attack. Lin Ye's divine will circulated around his body and found that he indeed had no more life gate. It wasn't that a part of it disappeared, but even if the original life gate was destroyed, he wouldn't die. Now that his divine will had reached level 40, he could cultivate 1 or 2 types of powerful divine will attack. Moreover, he could unlock the 4th seal in the ninefold space. I'm afraid you can't cultivate now. The demon god sex young master. And the demon sex young master. They are all causing trouble in the heavenly sea sect. Biluo's voice had a hint of a smile. Although she was in Lin Ye's mind, she could sense what was happening outside. She also knew what happened in the heavenly sea sect square. However, she didn't dare to interrupt Lin Yi when he was refining the Empyrean God Watchtower. Now that Lin Yi had successfully refined the Empyrean God Watchtower, his strength had increased greatly. It was the right time to fight the demon god sex young master and demon sex young master. She wanted to know how powerful Lin Ye's self-healing body was. Oh, Lin Yi replied. He stood up and walked down the ninefold mountain step by step. On the heavenly sea square, there were millions of elites. Their faces were extremely ugly. The reason was none other than Yan Wuxin, the demon sex young master, and Ao Lai, the demon god sex young master. In the heavenly sea sect, other than Nangong Xie and Zhong Yushu, the other top 10 geniuses had all been defeated by Yan Wuxin and Ao Lai. It could even be said that the geniuses of the heavenly sea sect had been completely crushed. You can't even withstand a single blow. Yan Wuxin's disdainful voice sounded. He glanced at the elites on the heavenly sea square with his evil eyes. Wherever his gaze passed, no one dared to look him in the eye. Xue Shuyi and the others of the heavenly sea sect felt helpless. If it weren't for his identity, he would have crushed the 2 elites of the demon god sect and demon sect with one finger. However, he couldn't do that. He could only blame himself for not having any elites to deal with Yan Wuxin and Ao Lai. The only person who could deal with Yan Wuxin and Ao Lai was Nangong Xie. However, Nangong Xie had reached the void refinement realm and couldn't fight. Is that so? Just as countless elites of the heavenly sea city were feeling helpless and angry. A faint voice sounded. The voice was sweet and clear, like the sound of nature. The anger and helplessness of the elites present calmed down in front of this voice. Everyone looked in the direction of the voice. Chapter 102. The crisp voice was like the sound of nature. For a moment, all the strong cultivators looked in the direction of the voice. They saw a beautiful woman appear in front of them. The woman was 21 or 22 years old. She was wearing a blue dress, and her hair was hanging down to her waist. She had a beautiful face that could topple countries. Her fair skin was like warm jade. She was like a goddess who had cleansed the dust from the 9 heavens. She had an otherworldly aura and a cold temperament that kept people thousands of miles away. Her delicate feet were 3 feet above the ground as she walked. Seeing the woman, all the strong cultivators were shocked. They didn't expect that there would be such a perfect woman in this world. They all thought that their eyes were playing tricks on them. This woman should only exist in heaven. How many times could one see her in the human world? Senior Sister Nangong. Senior Sister Nangong. The geniuses of the Heavenly Sea sect were all excited when they saw the woman appear. Their faces were full of respect and admiration. She was the first on the genius list. The 9th mountain was once ranked first. Now, she had seen through yin and yang and reached the void refinement realm, Nangong Sia. Not only was Nangong Sia talented, but her strength was also unparalleled. She was also the number 1 goddess of the Heavenly Sea sect, and the number 1 of the top 10 goddesses. Seeing the geniuses of the Heavenly Sea sect greet her, Nangong Sia nodded slightly and walked towards Shui. Whether it was cultivation, talent, or status, she was superior to everyone. Nangong Sia, you are indeed a beauty. Among the humans, this young master only has eyes for you. How about marrying me, Yen Wuxin? Yen Wuxin looked at Nangong Sia, his evil eyes emitting an evil light. Although the demonic sect had no lack of beauties, there was no beauty like Nangong Sia. Even he, the young master of the demonic sect, was tempted when he saw Nangong Sia. What a clown! Nangong Sia's state of mind was calm. There was no anger at all. Or rather, she didn't take Yen Wuxin seriously at all. Indeed, in her eyes, Yen Wuxin was probably just a slightly bigger ant. The divine phoenix would not lower herself to the same level as an ant. If it were not for the fact that he had broken through to the void refinement realm, she might have personally killed Yen Wuxin. However, she couldn't do it now. At least in Heavenly Sea City, she wouldn't kill Yen Wuxin. Yen Wuxin, Nangong Sia doesn't like you. Ha 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 ha. Seeing Nangong Sia ignoring Yen Wuxin, the Fiend God Sect's young master Ao Lai immediately burst into loud laughter. He did not treat this place as Heavenly Sea City at all. He acted as if he was in his own territory, acting without the slightest scruple. Nangong Sia, what a pity. You've already seen through yin and yang. Otherwise, I would really want to fight you. Yen Wuxin glared at Ao Lai. The Fey Celestial sect and the demonic sect were not on good terms, but their relationship was much better than the Heavenly Sea sect. Immediately after, he sized up Nangong Sia's body. You will never be qualified to fight me. Nangong Sia's voice was always clear, sweet, and incomparably pleasant to listen to. Even if it was calm and emotionless, it was the same. However, at this moment, as she spoke, an undetectable smile appeared on her originally cold and beautiful little face. When this smile was caught by others, they couldn't help but feel shocked. Nangong Sia was a famous ice-cold goddess who never smiled. Who would have thought that he would reveal a trace of a smile today, even if it was just for a fleeting moment? Then, Nangong Sia, I said that you won't be able to withstand a single blow, and you still want to object. Yen Wuxin's evil eyes were unbridled. He knew that the woman in front of him was not someone he could obtain. Even if he reached the void refinement realm, he was still no match for Nangong Sia. Among the demonic sect's young masters, there were a few who could defeat Nangong Sia, but he was not one of them. The demon sovereign had issued an order to eliminate Lin Yi and Nangong Sia. Now it seemed that he would not be able to complete this impossible task. As for that Lin Yi, he still hadn't appeared. If he really did appear, he would definitely kill him on the battle stage. Little junior brother. Senior sister, I've received news. Someone wants to eliminate you and me. Nangong Sia ignored Yen Wuxin and said indifferently. It was as if she was talking to herself. However, the people present didn't think so. The number 1 genius of the Heavenly Sea sect. Number 1 on the genius list. Number 1 of the 10 great goddesses. Naturally, she had her reasons for saying those words. For a moment, the heavenly sea-sex geniuses were both curious and surprised. They were curious about who could be called little junior brother by Nangong Sia. Moreover, from Nangong Sia's words, they knew that someone wanted to eliminate her and her little junior brother. This meant that her little junior brother was definitely as monstrous as she was. What kind of person was Nangong Sia? No one in the entire Heavenly Sea sect could get close to her. Naturally, no one would take the initiative to get close to her. Senior Sister Nangong. The demonic sect and the demonic sect want to eliminate you and me. Can I pretend not to be afraid? A voice sounded in the distance. This voice was answering Nangong Sia. It was calm and confident. There was a trace of disdain in his words. This was the first impression everyone had. For a moment, countless people couldn't help but look in the direction of the voice. They all wanted to know who the speaker was. More importantly, they wanted to know who the little junior brother Nangong Sia was talking about was. Senior brother Lin Yi. Senior brother Lin Yi. It's Lin Yi. An ordinary young man appeared in everyone's line of sight. The young man was dressed in green. He didn't have a powerful aura around him. Instead, he looked like a scholar. He was filled with a scholarly aura. His appearance here was completely inconsistent with the atmosphere. Many people present recognized the young man's identity and background. For a moment, countless people greeted or nodded at Lin Yi. Although most people didn't know Lin Yi's strength, there was one thing they all knew. That was, Lin Yi, this seemingly ordinary young man, had reached the peak of the 9th layer mountain and started the miracle of the Heavenly Sea sect, causing the peak of the Heavenly Sea sect to arrive. Just this point alone was enough. Only such a person could be called little junior brother by Nangong Sia. That's right, it was Lin Yi. Lin Yi walked over step by step. His gaze swept around, taking in Yan Wuxin and Ao Lai. However, his gaze swept past them, almost ignoring Yan Wuxin and Ao Lai. Finally, his gaze landed on Nangong Sia. Seeing Nangong Sia, Lin Yi's heart couldn't help but tremble. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So beautiful that it was out of this world. She wore a blue dress, had a tall and slender figure, an absolutely beautiful face, and skin as white as jade. Her entire person was like a goddess who had cleansed the dust of the 9 heavens. She had an otherworldly temperament that kept people 1,000 miles away. Her temperament was exactly the same as Luo Bingyue's. He couldn't tell whether Luo Bingyue was more beautiful or Nangong Sia was more beautiful. He could only say that both of them were incomparably beautiful, each with their own merits. Lin Yi's eyes were unscrupulously sizing him up. However, his gaze was full of admiration. His clear and innocent gaze was like the bright stars in the night sky. Are you really afraid? When Nangong Sia saw Lin Yi sizing her up, she couldn't help but feel a trace of a young girl's shyness. However, she wasn't angry at all. She herself didn't know what was going on. Everyone who saw her looked at her, making her feel very disgusted and even disgusted. This was definitely the first time she didn't feel disgusted. Chapter 103. Senior Sister Nangong. Are you afraid of an ant? Even if this ant is just a little bit stronger than the others. Lin Yi looked at Nangong Sia. He said with a smile. At this time, he had already passed through countless people and arrived in front of Nangong Sia. A faint fragrance entered his nose. He had seen many beautiful girls. For example, Luo Xing and Luo Ling, Murong Lingling and Luo Bingyue. The current Nangong Sia. However, Nangong Sia's beauty gave people a feeling of transcendence. Lin Yi's appearance shocked and made countless people curious. However, they didn't think that Lin Yi was Yan Wuxin's match. Even if Lin Yi had displayed heaven-defying talent on the 9th mountain, Lin Yi was still in the manifestation realm. How could a manifestation realm cultivator be a match for Yan Wuxin and Ao Lai? The top 10 of the prodigy roll were all at the peak of Yin-Yang Stage 9. Moreover, they were basically invincible in the same stage. Even so, they weren't Yen Wuxin's match. Monstrous geniuses were beyond the reach of ordinary people. Their strength far exceeded their cultivation level. Cultivation level wasn't the standard to measure their strength. Lin Ye's words just now gave people a feeling of extreme arrogance and conceit. Yen Wuxin was an ant. How could a slightly bigger ant be possible? Lin Yi, the item in the secret realm. This young master wants it. Yen Wuxin's face was filled with anger. He was the demonic sex young master, yet he was ignored by Nangong Xie and Lin Yi. The two of them were talking and completely ignoring him. This kind of provocation was intolerable. The item in the secret realm? Which secret realm? Your demonic sex secret realm? Do you know that you give me the feeling of ignorance? Lin Ye's gaze moved from Nangong Xie to Yen Wuxin on the stage. When he looked at Yen Wuxin, it was as if he was looking at an idiot. So what if he was the demonic sex young master? He would still be beaten to death or crippled. Moreover, he could faintly sense the killing intent of the three masters in the air. The moment that killing intent appeared, it had locked onto him. Although the killing intent was well hidden, Lin Ye's divine sense was extremely powerful and could easily sense it. Three peerless experts of the demonic sect wanted to eliminate him. Even if they were in Heaven Sea City, they wouldn't have any scruples. It seemed that what Nangong Xie said was true. For a heaven-defying monster like Nangong Xie, the devil cult and the demon god cult naturally wouldn't allow her to mature. The demonic sect definitely knew about Lin Ye's performance on the 9th mountain. Erasing him was also within reason. He didn't expect the demonic sect. You're just showing off. Wuxin's killing. He came to Heavenly Sea City in high spirits and defeated the top 10 geniuses of the Heavenly Sea sect. No one was his match. How could someone as arrogant as him look down on human cultivators? Who would have thought that a mere human youth? Not only did he obtain the treasure he wanted in the secret realm, he even dared to call him ignorant. Battle of life and death. Lin Yi walked toward the battle stage. He walked up to the fighting stage and looked at Yen Wuxin and Ao Lai. One was the demonic sex young master. The other was the demon sex young master. Both of them were monsters of the demonic path. If he could kill them here, the demonic path would have 2 fewer experts in the future. It was definitely a good thing for humans. However, it wasn't easy to kill them, especially in Heavenly Sea City. Of course, if they signed a contract on the battle stage, as long as they agreed to a battle of life and death, it was reasonable to kill each other. Battle of life and death? Battle of life and death. There were millions of experts in Heavenly Sea City Square. Seeing Lin Yi scold Wuxin, they were very happy. However, they didn't expect Lin Yi to really dare to enter the battle stage. After all, Lin Yi was only at the 9th level of the manifestation realm not long ago. He was far from being Wuxin's opponent. Moreover, even if Lin Ye's cultivation was the same as Wuxin's, Lin Yi couldn't be Wuxin's opponent because Wuxin was the demonic sex young master. He was invincible among his peers. In the entire Heavenly Sea sect, only Nangong Xie could defeat Wuxin. Zhong Yushu could fight Wuxin at most. Now, not only did Lin Yi walk onto the battle stage, but he also proposed a battle of life and death. Furthermore, he had taken the initiative to propose a battle to the death. Wasn't he seeking death? Countless experts were shocked and looked at Lin Yi in disbelief. Even Xue Shi was worried and wanted to stop Lin Yi. Lin Yi. Brother Lin Yi. Luo Bingyue and Murong Lingling were terrified when they heard that Lin Yi was going to have a battle to the death. It wasn't that they didn't believe Lin Yi. It was because Wuxin was too monstrous. Lin Ye's strength was comparable to the top 10 of the prodigy ranking. Even so, he was no match for Wuxin. Okay. Yen Wuxin was stunned. He was also confused by Lin Ye's suggestion of a battle to the death. He didn't know if Lin Yi was confident or had other means, but this was an opportunity to kill Lin Yi openly. As long as he killed Lin Yi, his mission would be completed, and he could get the treasure he wanted. Aolai, you don't dare? Lin Yi smiled. He looked at Aolai with a hint of violence in his eyes. Screech, what's going on? Is Lin Yi going to have a battle of life and death with Aolai? Could it be that he had the confidence to kill Yan Wuxin and then fight Aolai? It was unimaginable, it was beyond the scope of everyone's imagination. Everyone was looking at Lin Yi in shock. Arrogant. Aolai was really stunned by Lin Yi. On the other side, Yan Wuxin's face was ugly. Arrogant. Arrogant. Strong. What Lin Yi displayed was true arrogance and strength. Their strength and arrogance paled in comparison to Lin Ye's. It was not even worth mentioning. Since you dare to be so presumptuous in my Heaven-Sea City, then you should be prepared to pay the price. The smile on Lin Ye's face remained. There was a hint of disdain in his smile. In Aolai's eyes, he was mocking him. The anger in his heart was indescribable. He looked at Yan Wuxin and made a decision. Battle of life and death. Aolai loudly accepted the challenge, agreeing to the life and death battle. He was the young master of the Devil God sect. Even Yan Wuxin had agreed. What was there to be afraid of? At this moment, Aolai agreed to the battle. Yan Wuxin agreed to the battle. The millions of experts in the Heaven-Sea Square could testify. For a moment, the square was in an uproar. Today, on this fighting stage, only I can leave. His simple words were domineering and confident. If someone else had said this, they would have said that only one out of the three could leave the battle stage. However, Lin Yi had directly said that he was the only one who could leave the battle stage. Just how confident and domineering was he? Boom! Boom! As Lin Yi spoke, he channeled his true yuan. He pressed one hand on the fighting stage. Suddenly, there was a terrifying fluctuation of divine inscriptions. As the divine inscriptions fluctuated, a light shield appeared. The light shield shrouded the entire fighting stage. The light shield was transparent. One could see everything inside and outside. Even sound would not be blocked. The light shield's only supporting function was to let the people inside out to prevent attacks from outside from entering again. The light shield would only disappear when the battle ended. Seeing Lin Ye's action, everyone was shocked. This was sealing off all paths of retreat. Chapter 104. The life and death battle had begun. Lin Yi of the Heavenly Sea sect. Aolai, the young master of the Demon God sect. Yan Wuxin, the ninth young master of the Demonic sect. The three of them stayed in the fighting stage. The light shield enveloped the fighting stage tightly. People outside couldn't get in and people inside couldn't get out. All the escape routes were sealed. The millions of experts in the square were puzzled. More importantly, they wanted to know why Lin Yi did this. He was courting death. At this moment, none of the experts in the Heavenly Sea City were gloating. They only felt sorry for Lin Yi and worried about him. After all, Lin Yi was a human genius. In the face of a racial war, humans were the most united. They would rather kill each other than see their own people being killed by other races. This was human nature. Senior Brother Lin. Senior Brother Lin. Senior Brother Lin. In the Heavenly Sea sect, regardless of whether they were from the inner or outer sect, all of them cheered at this moment. They didn't care if Lin Yi was a match for Yan Wuxin and Aolai. However, Lin Ye's courage was not something they could hope to match. Thunderous cheers filled the entire plaza. Lin Ye's name was everywhere. But, in the fighting ring, Lin Yi gently raised his hand. He made a gesture to keep quiet. Suddenly, the endless cheers stopped. Do you know why the clowns from the Demon God sect and the Demonic sect dare to come to the Heavenly Sea City? That's because you're not strong enough. When you're strong enough, will these clowns still dare to come to the Heavenly Sea City? Is there a need to cheer after killing 2 ants? Lin Yi turned around and glanced at the crowd. His voice was faint. His voice wasn't loud, but it was like thunder in the ears of the experts in the Heavenly Sea City. They were shocked. They were all shocked. They were shocked by Lin Ye's arrogance and domineering attitude. They were shocked by Lin Ye's words. What he said was the truth. If he was strong, the evildoers from the demon god religion and the demonic sect would not dare to come to Sky Sea City. However, the question was there even a sliver of hope for Lin Ye's life and death battle? Die! Despicable ant, die! Yan Wuxin almost died from anger. Ever since this little human had appeared, he had been provoked and ignored. On the other side, Ao Lai was in a similar situation as Yan Wuxin. Since when were humans so arrogant? A lowly human youth, who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth, actually dared to challenge them to a life-and-death battle. They naturally wouldn't miss such a good opportunity that was delivered to their doorstep. For a moment, the two of them launched a destructive attack, crushing toward Lin Yi at the same time. At the peak of the 9th level of the Yin-Yang realm, he was invincible among his peers. Even a cultivator at the Voiding realm would be severely injured if not killed. However, 10 days ago, Lin Yi was only at the 9th level of the Manifestation realm. Could a 9th level Lin Yi withstand a single attack from Ao Lai and Yan Wuxin? True demonic qi could destroy the heavens and earth and erode all living things. The power of the demon god was domineering and could destroy everything. The two of them were at the Yin-Yang realm and couldn't fly in the air. However, their speed was extremely fast, even faster than a cultivator at the Voiding realm. They were 200 meters away from each other in the blink of an eye. The domineering and destructive attacks crushed toward Lin Yi. One of them will die first. When the experts in the square saw Yan Wuxin and Ao Lai attacking Lin Yi at the same time, their hearts couldn't help but sink. They closed their eyes, not daring to see Lin Yi being brutally killed. However, at this moment, the motionless Lin Yi opened his mouth. A terrifying aura exploded from his body. 5th level of the Yin-Yang realm, that's right, he was at the 5th level of the Yin-Yang realm. He activated the power of Yin and Yang and the Starry Sky Divine Art. At this moment, the Heavenly Frost Aurora was unleashed. Instantly, the light of the Heavenly Frost Aurora burst out and met Yan Wuxin's true demonic qi. On the other side, he casually threw a punch toward Ao Lai. The domineering and destructive Heavenly Emperor Fist was unleashed. In an instant, one of them launched 2 attacks. 5th level of the Yin-Yang realm. 10 days ago, he was at the 9th level of the Wanxiang realm. Now, he is at the 5th level of the Yin-Yang realm. When everyone saw Lin Ye's cultivation, they couldn't help but be stunned. It wasn't that Lin Ye's cultivation was heaven-defying. It was that his cultivation speed was too fast. 10 days ago, he was at the 9th level of the Wanxiang realm. Now, 10 days later, he was at the 5th level of the Yin-Yang realm. Boom. In a battle between super experts, the outcome was decided in an instant. Everyone only saw Yan Wuxin and Ao Lai unleashing their destructive attacks toward Lin Yi. Lin Yi also unleashed a punch and a ray of light. Everyone could see that Lin Ye's Heavenly Emperor Fist was trying to injure Ao Lai. As for the ray of light, it was trying to stop Yan Wuxin's true demonic qi. However, would it really work? This question arose in all the experts' minds. In an instant, the result was out. When the experts of the Heavenly Sea sect saw that the Heavenly Emperor Fist was destroyed by Ao Lai, and Ao Lai's destructive demon god power smashed onto Lin Ye's back, everyone exclaimed. After being hit by Ao Lai, Lin Yi was at the 5th level of the Yin-Yang realm. Even King Kong would be smashed into pieces. Poochie. However, just when everyone thought that Lin Yi was going to die, a miracle happened. The ray of light that Lin Yi used to block the true demonic qi passed through the true demonic qi and hit Yan Wuxin. Yan Wuxin's chest was pierced by the cold ray of light, leaving a huge hole. Yan Wuxin spat out a mouthful of blood. His eyes were filled with unwillingness and disbelief. From the beginning to the end, he didn't believe that he would be killed. Moreover, he was killed by a human at the 5th level of the Yin-Yang realm in one move. Thud! Yan Wuxin fell to the ground with a loud thud, no longer breathing. The 9th young master of the demonic sect, one of the top 10 geniuses of the Heavenly Sea sect, was no match for him. However, in front of Lin Yi, he was killed in one move. Boom! Aolai's demon god power hit Lin Ye's back. Lin Ye's body trembled, and a fist-sized hole appeared on his back. Aolai's demon deity force smashed a hole through his heart. Blood spurted out, forming a curtain of blood. Lin Yi. Senior brother Lin. Brother Lin Yi. Junior brother. Seeing that Lin Ye's heart was penetrated by Aolai's attack, everyone was shocked. They all knew that Lin Yi couldn't survive. Countless geniuses of the Heavenly Sea sect, as well as Xue Shi and the other elders, felt sorry for the death of a peerless genius who had killed Yan Wuxin in one move. Ha ha! Ha ha! Aolai laughed loudly in the fighting ring. He laughed without restraint and was incomparably crazy. In this battle, he had gained the biggest advantage and became the biggest winner. Yan Wuxin had died. Lin Yi had also died. He was Aolai. He was the real invincible genius. Even if he met the other young masters in the demon god sect, he would have more confidence. Are you done laughing? A faint voice sounded. This voice shocked Aolai, as if he had seen a ghost. Because he recognized that the voice came from Lin Yi, a human. Lin Yi had been killed by him in one move. How could he speak? Was he not completely dead? However, with his gaze, not only did Lin Yi not die, but he was moving around well. What made him even more shocked was that the hole he had made on Lin Ye's back had disappeared. Only his clothes were damaged. Other than that, there were no other injuries. For a moment, he thought that it was all an illusion. Could it be that he had seen wrongly from the beginning? Was Lin Yi not killed by him? Chapter 105. Not only Aolai, but also the millions of experts present. They all thought that their eyes were playing tricks on them, and their faces were full of shock and disbelief. They clearly saw Aolai's attack penetrating Lin Ye's heart, but in an instant, Lin Yi was unscathed. There was no trace of injury where the bloody hole was. The only thing that could prove that Lin Yi had suffered a heavy blow was the clothes on his body. There were tears on his clothes. Instant recovery. Immortal body. What a terrifying recovery ability! It's too fast. If you don't look carefully, you won't notice that he was really injured. It's just that his recovery speed is unbelievable. Ordinary people can't see it. The one he really wants to kill is Yan Wuxin. Indeed, the punch he used was just to offset part of Aolai's attack. He has full confidence that he can take the rest of the attack head-on. There was no lack of super experts in the Tianhai Square. For example, Xue Shi and the others were all in the Void Refinement realm. The eyes and divine senses of Void Refinement realm experts were powerful. Naturally, the changes in Lin Ye's body couldn't escape their eyes. They knew that when Aolai attacked Lin Ye's heart was penetrated. It wasn't an illusion. However, with Lin Ye's incredible recovery speed, he recovered in an instant without leaving a trace. The experts of the Tianhai sect were very excited when they knew about Lin Ye's incredible recovery speed. Moreover, Lin Yi killed Yan Wuxin with a simple attack. In that case, Lin Yi killing Aolai would be a piece of cake. But in the air, the three super experts from the demonic sect and the expert from the Fey God sect looked terrible. They didn't expect that the Tianhai sect had such a genius who was not inferior to Nangong Xia. If this continued, he would become a big problem for them. There was an idea in their minds. This boy couldn't be left alive. Yan Wuxin had already died. Aolai didn't have a good chance of winning. The evil path would definitely lose two peerless geniuses at once. I didn't expect junior brother to be so monstrous, Nangong Xia said in a low voice as she looked at Lin Yi on the battle stage. Although she hadn't seen Lin Ye's strength with her own eyes, she had reached the 8th peak of the 6th peak of the 9th peak. She knew how terrifying and powerful the 9th peak was. Lin Yi could reach the peak of the 9th peak. This meant that Lin Yi was very strong. At the very least, he could fight against Yan Wuxin and Ao Lai. Otherwise, she wouldn't have pushed Lin Yi into the heart of the storm. Little brother Lin Yi is amazing. A sweet smile appeared on Murong Lingling's beautiful face. Lin Yi never failed to surprise her. The surprise this time made her heart tremble. I wonder how many girls have been charmed by you. Luo Bingyue had always been worried about Lin Yi. After seeing Lin Ye's strength, he was slightly relieved. You're not dead. Ao Lai's expression was extremely ugly. Naturally, he could hear the voices outside the platform. Moreover, his protector transmitted a message to him, saying that Lin Yi had a talent comparable to the immortal body. His self-healing speed was heaven-defying. This meant that his eyes weren't playing tricks on him. He had indeed attacked Lin Yi, and Lin Ye's heart was cold. If not for Lin Ye's incredible self-healing speed, Yan Wuxin would have ended up like Lin Yi. The young master of the demon god sect. Trash like you. You think you can fight me with your insignificant strength? What a joke. Lin Yi walked towards Ao Lai step by step. At this moment, he knew how terrifying his self-healing body was. He had taken Ao Lai's attack head-on to test the self-healing ability of his body. He had made the right bet. The self-healing body was indeed beyond his imagination. The freezing sky aurora had killed Yan Wuxin head-on. Now Ao Lai was the only one left. He could completely crush Ao Lai. Demon Master Possession. Die. Ao Lai was completely terrified. It was the first time he felt that death was so close to him. He had never thought that his life would be threatened by a mere human. He also didn't expect that the human's cultivation level was a few levels lower than his. He activated his demon power and performed a heaven-class martial skill. The Demon Master Possession was a terrifying secret skill of the demon god sect. Once performed, one's cultivation level would increase by a few times. However, the time was limited. It was only a few dozen seconds. Moreover, there would be repercussions after performing such a secret skill. One's cultivation level might not be able to increase anymore. Ao Lai knew the pros and cons of the Demon Master Possession. However, even if he knew, he could only perform the Demon Master Possession. At this moment, if he didn't perform the Demon Master Possession, he wouldn't even have a chance to live. Rumble! Rumble! Ao Lai's body had become 10 meters tall. As he waved his long arms, the space trembled and cracked. The fighting ring shook slightly as if it was going to collapse. His huge body was emitting a faint golden glow, giving off a strong visual impact. He looked like a demon that had descended to the world. He threw a punch at Lin Yi. The space was pierced through by the punch. Heavenly Emperor Fist, Level 3. Lin Ye's figure flashed. His entire body was like a sharp sword, turning into a shooting star. Similarly, he threw a punch at Ao Lai's huge fist. However, the Heavenly Emperor Fist that he performed was at Level 3. It was the peak of its power. Boom! Crack! There was an explosion. There was the sound of an arm being broken. Ao Lai's huge body gave off a strong impact. However, when he clashed with Lin Ye's Heavenly Emperor Fist, his huge body was thrown away. His entire arm was turned into dust by the power of the Heavenly Emperor Fist. As for Lin Yi, his speed did not decrease as he chased after Ao Lai. Tenfold Destruction Blade, Level 8. The Skyflame's sacred blade appeared in his hand. With a slash, the 8th level of the Tenfold Destruction Blade was performed. In the blink of an eye, 128 destructive blade lights shot towards Ao Lai. The blade intent in the air twisted, and the light shield on the battle stage shook as if it couldn't withstand the destructive blade lights and was about to collapse. The blade radiance fell. The fighting ring became quiet. In a flash, Lin Yi retreated to the edge of the fighting ring. As the blade radiances disappeared, Ao Lai appeared in front of all the experts. At this moment, Ao Lai had hundreds of wounds on his body. Each wound was fatal. Moreover, there was a faint, unparalleled blade will on his wounds. The 11th young master of the Fey God sect, Ao Lai, had fallen. From the moment Lin Yi stepped onto the fighting ring to the end of the battle, the entire process only took a few breaths. However, the two peerless geniuses of the Fey God sect and the demonic sect had fallen. The life and death battle had ended. Yan Wuxin had fallen. Ao Lai had fallen. Lin Yi had won. The millions of experts were still in shock. They could not believe that this was real. The arrogant and powerful young master of the Fey God sect, the evil and bloodthirsty young master of the demonic sect. He was killed by Lin Yi, who was at the 5th level of the Yin-Yang realm. What was a monster? What was powerful? What was overpowered? Chapter 106. Senior Brother Lin. Senior Brother Lin. After a short moment of silence, the square burst into cheers. The whole square was almost turned upside down by the cheers. Tianhai City, Tianhai sect. All the experts and geniuses knew one thing: Lin Ye's strength. After this battle, he would be the senior brother of the entire Tianhai sect, the number one genius of the Tianhai sect. Even the disciples of the Tianhai sect, who were in their 30s or 40s, or even older, would have to call Lin Yi senior brother when they saw Lin Yi. In a world where the strong were respected, age was not the measure of status and identity. Strength was the way to go. Arrogant, domineering, powerful, heaven-defying. This was the impression that Lin Yi gave everyone. However, what puzzled them was that Lin Yi usually kept a low profile. If it weren't for Tu Ming and Tu Ta, they wouldn't have known that there was such a powerful existence in the outer sect of the Tianhai sect. Now, if it weren't for his battle with Yan Wuxin and Ao Lai, more people wouldn't have known about his strength. To give him a comprehensive evaluation, that was. He usually kept a low profile and was humble. He was overbearing and domineering when dealing with his enemies. Luo Bingyue looked at Lin Yi with a smile on her beautiful face. Murong Lingling was very happy at this moment. Nangong Xia nodded with satisfaction. And Feng, Yao Yu, you can leave Tianhai City now, Xue Shi shouted as he looked at the few peerless experts in the sky. At the same time, a peerless pressure erupted from his body. The power of the void refinement realm made the world tremble. Next to Xue Shi, several powerful elders also looked at the experts of the demon god sect and the demonic sect in the sky. If these top experts didn't leave Tianhai City, they didn't mind making them stay here forever. Humph. Unfeng, Yao Yu, and the others looked terrible. He glared at Lin Yi, who was in the middle of the fighting ring. Their silhouettes flashed as they flew away from the heavenly sea city. They knew that Yan Wuxin and Ao Lai had fallen here. Even if they attacked, they wouldn't be able to kill Lin Yi. Moreover, if they were late, the people of the Heavenly Sea sect might take the opportunity to make them stay in Heavenly Sea City. Whoosh, whoosh. Not long after the experts from the demon god cult and the demon cult left, the sound of something breaking through the air could be heard. As soon as the voice sounded, two figures appeared in the sky above Tianhai Square. The faces of Xue Shi and the elders changed greatly. Although he didn't know what had happened, he had a premonition that something shocking must have happened. Otherwise, the two elders guarding the Heavenly Devil Canyon would have returned with serious injuries. In the air there were two figures. They were two of the 10 elders of the Heavenly Sea sect. Grand Elder. The people of the demonic sect have entered the Heavenly Devil Canyon. The army of the demonic sect has flattened the Heavenly Devil City. The one who spoke was one of the 10 great elders, Yen Tianping. His body was riddled with injuries. A peerless expert like him, who stood at the top of the Sky-Sea realm, was unexpectedly injured to such an extent. One could imagine how terrifying the opponent was. More importantly, what he said was true. Suddenly, the faces of the millions of experts in Tianhai Square changed greatly. The Heavenly Devil City has fallen. They went to the Heavenly Devil Canyon. Xue Shi's face changed. The other experts only knew that the fall of the Heavenly Devil City was a huge threat to humanity, but they didn't know what kind of shocking changes the demonic sect would bring if they entered the Heavenly Devil Canyon. Countless demons were suppressed in the Heavenly Devil Canyon. If the demonic sect released these demons, the Sky-Sea realm would really be finished. All along, the experts of the Heavenly Sea sect had been guarding the Heavenly Devil City and the Heavenly Devil Canyon at all times, maintaining the seal at all times. But they didn't expect the demonic sect to enter the Heavenly Devil Canyon. The 10 guardians of the demonic sect, the 10 demon generals, and all the young masters. Even the demon lords have moved. There are millions of demonic sect members in the entire Heavenly Devil City. One of the 10 great elders, Luoao. Both of them were at the peak of the 9th level void refinement stage. Fortunately, both of them had supreme treasures like the transportation talisman with them. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to escape. Although both of them were powerful, the demonic sect had almost turned out in full force this time. Just the young masters of the demonic sect were enough to kill the 2 of them, not to mention the 10 great guardians and the 10 great demon generals. Where are the people in the Heavenly Devil City? Xue Shi's face was distorted. In fact, he had already guessed the outcome. But he didn't give up. There were millions of human residents in the Heavenly Devil City. They were all slaughtered. Yen Tianping said with a trembling voice. He had seen millions of human residents being slaughtered by some demonic sect expert. They were even dismembered and devoured. The scene was tragic and cruel. He didn't have the ability to protect these people, so he could only use the transportation talisman to escape. Everyone, get ready. Wait for orders to head to the demonic sealing city. Xue Shi's voice was like rolling thunder that spread throughout the Tianhai Square. All the experts on the Sky-Sea Square heard it loud and clear. Although 99% of these experts weren't from the Tianhai sect, they were still human. The demonic sect had entered the Heavenly Devil Valley. When the time came, the demonic sect and even the remnants of the demons would sweep through the entire Tianhai realm. As long as one was a human, they would have to resist the invasion of the demonic sect and the remnants of the demons. Otherwise, the Tianhai realm would disappear and become the world of the demonic sect and the remnants of the demons. After Xue Shi finished speaking, his body turned into a streak of light and disappeared. The other elders followed suit and left as well. With such an unforeseen event, the Tianhai sect's higher-ups had to hold a meeting to discuss how to deal with the demonic sect. The sudden change in the Heavenly Devil City made the hearts of the experts in the Tianhai sect heavy. The air also became extremely heavy. Lin Yi activated the light shield and left the fighting stage. Brother Lin Yi. Murong Lingling ran to Lin Yi happily. She held Lin Ye's hand with her slender hand and looked very happy. She knew that Lin Yi was powerful, but she didn't expect Lin Yi to be so monstrous. The demon god cult's young master and the demonic sect's young master couldn't even withstand a single blow from him. Even the demon god cult's young master was killed by Lin Yi with one punch after using the demon god possession secret technique. She was very curious. She didn't know how powerful Lin Yi was. Also, Lin Yi was only at the manifestation realm 10 days ago. Who would have thought that 10 days later, he would be at the 5th level of the Yin-Yang realm? Such a cultivation speed might not be unparalleled in the future, but it was at least unprecedented. Lingling. Lin Yi held Murong Lingling's hand with a smile. But at this moment, Nangong Xie appeared in front of them. Not only Nangong Xie, but Luo Bingyue, Lingxi, and the nine-tailed fox Silent Soul also came to Lin Yi. Little junior brother, you have to prepare well. Let's go to the Demon Sealing City. A faint smile appeared on Nangong Xie's beautiful little face. She looked at Lin Yi with her beautiful eyes and said. She was also curious. This little junior brother was so heaven-defying. She originally thought that Lin Yi was heaven-defying for reaching the peak of the 9th peak, but it wasn't something that could be done in a day or two. Now that she saw Lin Yi's strength, she realized that she had underestimated this little junior brother. Thank you for the reminder, senior sister Nangong. Lin Yi nodded. This was his first time meeting this senior sister Nangong, so he didn't know her well. Furthermore, no matter how he looked at her, he couldn't see through her. Chapter 107. The entire Sky Sea City knew about the shocking changes in Heavenly Demon City. Even the 36 countries knew about it. After a discussion among the upper echelons of the Sky Sea sect, the entire Sky Sea realm powerhouses fought against the remnants of the demon sect and the demons and rushed to Demon Sealing City to fight against them. They fought to take back Heavenly Demon City and reseal the demons in Heavenly Demon Canyon. The war between the races concerned the survival of the entire Sky Sea realm. Instantly, countless powerhouses from the 36 countries rushed to Demon Sealing City. Demon Sealing City, thousands of miles away from Heavenly Demon City, they looked at each other. Heavenly Demon City originally belonged to the human forces. Countless demons were sealed in Heavenly Demon Canyon, and Demon Sealing City was the first line of defense against the demon sect and the demons. Now that Heavenly Demon City had fallen and Heavenly Demon Canyon was occupied, the human powerhouses had to defend Demon Sealing City as the first line of defense. Otherwise, the demon sect and the demons would invade the Sky Sea realm. At that time, Sky Sea City would have to face the demon sect and the demons. If Sky Sea City could not be defended, then the entire Sky Sea realm would be finished. The war between the demon sect and the Sky Sea sect had broken out. Fortunately, the demons had not appeared yet. Otherwise, the Sky Sea sect would not be able to withstand a single blow. Sky Sea sect outer sect disciples had to go to Demon Sealing City to train. It was the same for inner sect disciples. Only the 108 direct disciples were not required to go. However, as the top prodigies of the Sky Sea sect, they would not stand by and do nothing under such circumstances. Besides, Demon Sealing City and Heavenly Demon City were definitely the best places to train. Countless resources and treasures were in Demon Sealing City, Heavenly Demon City, and the demons' territory. Although it was dangerous, there were more opportunities. In less than half a month, half of the outer sect disciples went to Demon Sealing City. More than half of the inner sect disciples went as well. Most of the direct disciples were active in Heavenly Demon City or the demons' territory. As for the super powerhouses of the Sky Sea sect, as long as they reached the Void Refinement Realm, they had to go. Only 3 elders and 2 grand elders were left to oversee the situation. Of course, the 3 deputy sect masters also had to go. The sect masters stayed in the Sky Sea sect. Who was the most famous in Sky Sea City? In that case, it had to be Lin Yi. Lin Yi's name was known by almost everyone in the entire Sky Sea City. His existence represented the monstrous genius of the Sky Sea sect and even the Sky Sea realm. Everyone considered Lin Yi and Nangong Xie as the #1 monstrous genius of the Sky Sea realm. In a forbidden area of the Heavenly Sea sect, Lin Yi was cultivating. It was said that in the entire Heavenly Sea sect, only the Grand Elder and the sect leader could cultivate here. Other than the Grand Elder and the sect master, only Lin Yi and Nangong Xie were here. Given Lin Yi's talent and contributions to the Heavenly Sea sect, the Heavenly Sea sect had devoted all its resources to nurturing Lin Yi. As long as Lin Yi needed any resources, the Heavenly Sea sect would open them to him. However, Lin Yi refused. His reason was that if he wanted to become a powerhouse, he had to fight for his own resources. She did not want to be a flower in a greenhouse. True powerhouses grew up in the midst of life and death. The only thing he could accept was this cultivation ground. Dragon vein source. That's right, this was the dragon vein source. Divine dragon blood essence, a treasure of heaven and earth. A divine dragon can refine 100 drops of divine dragon blood essence. You have 9 drops of divine dragon blood essence here. It's enough to raise your divine dragon 9 transformations to the 3rd transformation, or even the 4th transformation. At that time, your strength will undergo an earth-shattering change. Biluo's voice sounded in his sea of consciousness. Lin Ye's purpose in coming here was to borrow the help of the dragon vein source to refine the divine dragon blood essence and raise the divine dragon 9 transformations. He knew that the heavenly sea realm had undergone a shocking change. He could only raise his strength. Demon sect, demon god sect. There were also the demons that had yet to appear, which gave him a huge pressure. My current physique. Can it withstand the divine dragon blood essence? Lin Yi wasn't confident at all. The mystical and powerful divine dragon blood essence was not something he could imagine. That was the blood essence of a powerful divine dragon. He had a human body and a weak cultivation. If he couldn't withstand it, then he could only wait for his body to vanish. Conceal your spirit. Just activate the divine dragon 9 transformations, Biluo said. To be honest, she didn't know if Lin Yi could withstand the power of the divine dragon blood essence. However, she knew that if Lin Yi refined the divine dragon blood essence, he would definitely be able to reach the divine dragon 9 transformations. Let's go all out, Lin Yi thought to himself. With a thought, a ray of light flew out from the ninefold space. Within the light was a drop of blood essence. Divine dragon blood essence. Although it was a simple seal, the destructive power still caused the space to tremble. Whoosh 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 whoosh, Lin Yi waved out a series of simple runes. The seal on the divine dragon blood essence was slowly unraveled. The moment the seal was unraveled, an overwhelming power crushed down on Lin Yi. Even though Lin Yi was prepared, he was almost injured by the divine dragon blood essence. Divine Dragon 9 transformations, activate. The powerful Divine Dragon 9 transformations quickly circulated. For a time, the Divine Dragon blood essence spun in front of Lin Yi, while the Divine Dragon 9 transformations quickly devoured and refined the Divine Dragon blood essence. A full 2 hours passed. For 2 hours, Lin Yi had been lingering on the edge of life and death. Finally, a drop of Divine Dragon blood essence was refined. The Divine Dragon 9 transformations had actually reached the large success stage of the 3rd transformation. Just a drop of Divine Dragon blood essence had caused his Divine Dragon 9 transformations to undergo an earth-shattering change. Continue. Lin Yi did not hesitate in the slightest. The ninefold space opened and the Divine Dragon blood essence appeared. With his previous experience, Lin Ye's refinement of the Divine Dragon blood essence was much smoother. Just like that, 5 days passed. All 9 drops of Divine Dragon blood essence were refined. The Divine Dragon 9 transformations had also reached the 4th transformation as he wished, Azure Dragon transformation. When the Divine Dragon 9 transformations was activated, he could transform into an Azure Dragon with the power to destroy the heavens and earth. Right now, Lin Yi felt that even if he was facing a peerless expert of the Void refinement stage, he could still shatter him with a single punch. The power of the Azure Dragon. It is indeed powerful. Lin Yi felt the vibrating power in his body as he muttered to himself. The 4th transformation of the Divine Dragon 9 transformations. Just his body alone could withstand the attacks of experts of the same level. Coupled with his self-healing body, no one in the yin-yang realm could injure him. Even ordinary Void refinement stage experts were nothing in his eyes. Right now, you have a self-healing body. And the Azure Dragon transformation, your defense is unparalleled. Your attack is also very strong. However, if you cultivate 1 or 2 divine will attacks and use them unexpectedly in battle, even a void refinement stage expert would be consigned to eternal damnation. Biluo said. Lin Ye's cultivation strength was absolutely invincible among those of the same level. With his level 40 divine will, it was indeed a waste not to use his powerful divine will. The 4th layer of the ninefold space can be unsealed. Lin Yi nodded. Now, he could finally focus on his divine will. Chapter 108. Ninefold Space, Level 40 Divine Sense, Open the 4th Seal. A full 15 minutes. Just as Lin Ye's spiritual will was about to be exhausted, the 4th seal was finally opened. A shocking change occurred in the entire ninefold space. There was no upheaval, everything was quiet. However, the spirit energy became denser and the space became larger. 10,000 miles. Not bad. It was 10,000 miles. It was 10,000 miles long, 10,000 miles high, and 10,000 miles wide. It was completely an independent small world, a small world dominated by Lin Yi. Only when this small world completely stabilized, Lin Yi was relieved. The time ratio was no longer 8:1 but 16:1. 16 days of cultivation inside was only 1 day in the outside world. The 4th seal was unlocked. Lin Yi comprehended and cultivated the 3,000 Heaven Dao. Among the 3,000 Heaven Dao, Lin Yi comprehended the Divine Sense skill, Soul Voice and Heavenly Heart Stab. 2 Divine Sense skills, and both of them were offensive Divine Sense skills. Soul Voice used Divine Sense as the foundation to release sound waves to strangle the opponent's soul. Heavenly Heart Stab also used Divine Sense as the foundation to kill the opponent's soul invisibly. It took Lin Yi half a month to successfully cultivate the 2 Divine Telekinesis skills. However, he was only at the initial stage. If he wanted to cultivate them to the advanced stage or even the pinnacle stage, he would have to increase his Divine Telekinesis. Level 40 Divine Sense is equivalent to a martial artist at the 1st or 2nd level of the Void Refinement stage. However, Divine Sense Masters are invincible among their peers. In other words, if you use Divine Sense to attack, you can match the 3rd or 4th level of the Void Refinement stage. Biluo's voice sounded in Lin Ye's sea of consciousness. Divine Sense Masters were the most mysterious kind of people in this world. Rare, terrifying, and mysterious. This was the impression that Divine Sense Masters gave everyone. Now I can go to Demon Sealing City. The Demon Sect and the Heavenly Sea Sect are fighting. I'm heading to the Heavenly Demon Tower. Lin Yi seemed to be talking to himself. But this was a communication with Biluo. The experts of the Heavenly Sea Sect and the Heavenly Sea Realm had already rushed to Demon Sealing City. Only he was cultivating in the Heavenly Sea Sect. Now, the Divine Dragon 9 transformations had been upgraded. Now that he had cultivated the Divine Telekinesis skill, his strength had increased tremendously. It was the perfect time for him to go out and gain some experience. Sky Split Demon Tower. 5-colored Divine Stone. That is indeed a good idea. By the way, bring that elf girl and the 9-tailed celestial fox. They'll be of help to you. Also, I found a seed in your spatial world. When Biluo heard that Lin Yi wanted to go to the heaven-piercing Devil Tower, her voice immediately became happy. The Heavenspan Demon Tower had 5-colored divine stones. The 5-colored divine stone was one of the few heaven-defying treasures used to grow the chaotic divine tree. I know. Lin Yi naturally knew what was in his ninefold space, because he was the master of the ninefold space. In the Heavenly Sea Sect, most people were heading to Demon Sealing City. As a result, the Heavenly Sea Sect became much quieter, and there were not as many geniuses as before. Lingxi and Silent Soul. The two of them did not disappoint Lin Yi. During the assessment, through layers of competition, they successfully became members of the Heavenly Sea sect. However, the two of them did not become true disciples, not even inner sect disciples. They were only outer sect disciples. However, everyone knew that Lingxi and Silent Soul were related to Lin Yi. No matter if it was outer sect, inner sect, or even true disciples. Even the powerhouses on the prodigy roll did not dare to bully the two of them. Silent Soul, 21 years old. Peak 9th level Wanxiang realm. Lingxi, 13 years old. Similarly peak 9th level Wanxiang realm. Brother Lin. Brother Lin. Lin Yi had just arrived at the place where Lingxi cultivated when Lingxi saw him. Seeing Lin Yi, Lingxi was extremely happy. Her small and delicate body ran towards Lin Yi. She wore a light green dress, had a beautiful little face, and large eyes that were extremely lively. She fully displayed the beauty of the elf clan. Sheer. Lin Yi looked at the little elf girl and reached out to stroke her beautiful hair. Elves were favored by the heavens and earth. Only the heavens could create such a beautiful race like elves. Brother Lin, aren't you cultivating? Why do you have time to see Sheer? Lingxi raised her small face and looked at Lin Yi with her bright and beautiful eyes. Since entering the Heavenly Sea sect, this was the second time she saw Lin Yi. Because Lin Yi had been cultivating. She also knew that Lin Yi was extremely talented and was the future of the Heavenly Sea sect. Naturally, his cultivation could not be delayed. She also did not dare to go to Lin Ye's place to disturb Lin Yi. Naturally, she did not know that Lin Yi had been in the forbidden area all this time. Even if she went to find Lin Yi, she would not be able to see Lin Yi. I'm done cultivating. I'm going to Demon Ceiling City. Are you going? Lin Yi smiled and looked at Lingxi. She was an innocent, lively, adorable, and beautiful elf girl. Looking at her made one feel happy. I'm going. Where are you going? She is going somewhere. Lingxi agreed without any hesitation. The elves were favored by the heavens. However, the heavens were fair and gave them beauty and talent. However, there were not many of them. Moreover, they were naturally kind and stood aloof from worldly affairs. This time, they came to the Heavenly Sea sect because they wanted the Heavenly Sea sect to protect the elves and not be bullied by other races. Do you know where Silent Soul lives? Lin Yi asked. Yes. Lingxi nodded. She brought Lin Yi to Silent Soul's cultivation place. Outer sect disciples also had their own place, but it was not as good as inner sect disciples. Silent Soul's place was not far from Lingxi's, so they arrived quickly. Sister Silent Soul. Brother Lin is here. Lingxi, as if she never had any worries. Every moment she was innocent and lively. Before reaching Silent Soul's pavilion, she shouted. Her sweet and clear voice was lively and pleasant to the ear. Soon, Silent Soul's figure appeared. Silent Soul, in a light pink dress, her long veil fluttering in the wind. Her skin was fair and her legs were long and slender. Her beautiful face had a seductive aura. She was a nine-tailed celestial fox, born with unparalleled charm. Even if she did not actively use her charm, she would still make all the men in the world fall for her. Gongzi. Silent Soul stepped forward and bowed. She did not call Lin Yi senior brother, but Gongzi. This was where she was smart. Because this way, it meant that she was Lin Ye's woman. Yes. Your talent can only be unleashed when you reach the refined void realm. When necessary, release the seal. Lin Yi nodded. Then he said. His words shocked Silent Soul. She never thought that she would have nowhere to hide in front of Lin Yi. Nothing could escape Lin Ye's eyes. The more it was like this, the more she was sure that she did not follow the wrong person. At least, in the Heavenly Sea sect, there was no one more demonic than Lin Yi. Yes. Silent Soul bowed and answered. She did not hide it and chose to admit it. Chapter 109. Follow me to Demon Ceiling City. Lin Yi said. Her eyes were sizing up Silent Soul. Beautiful stunner. This was what Lin Yi could imagine. She, Nangong Xia, and Luo Bingyue each had their own merits, and were equally matched. Luo Bingyue was cold and unapproachable, an ice goddess. Nangong Xia was aloof, like a goddess from the 9 heavens. Silent Soul was a 9-tailed fox, a natural stunner with unparalleled charm. Silent Soul nodded without hesitation. To her, as long as she could become stronger, no matter where she was, she would cultivate. Besides, now that Lin Yi was going to Demon Sealing City, she naturally had to follow. Next, Lin Yi, Ling Shi, and Silent Soul left Tianhai Sect. Demon Sealing City, 100,000 miles away from Tianhai City. In half a month's time, Lin Yi and the other two appeared outside Demon Sealing City. It was unrealistic to call Demon Sealing City a city. Rather than calling it a city, it was better to call it a small town or even a small village, because Demon Sealing City was too small and too simple. A simple castle, a simple shop, everything was extremely ancient, and every place was filled with the aura of an ancient war. This was once the place where the demons and humans fought, and finally, the demons were buried here. A while ago, this was just a place for Sky Sea Realm experts to settle down. The place closest to Tianhai City. This place was only 1,000 miles away from Tianhai City. 1,000 miles away, Tianhai City was tall and majestic, exuding a majestic aura. The soaring demonic aura stirred the 9 heavens. Now, Demon Sealing City was home to millions of Sky Sea Realm experts. Brother Lin. Aren't we going to Demon Sealing City? On a mountain peak 100 miles away from Demon Sealing City, a man and 2 women. The man was a youth. Of the 2 women, one was a stunner, and the other was a 13 or 14-year-old elf girl. The cultivation of the 3 of them was basically at the bottom of the pile here. No. Lin Yi said with a smile. That's right, the 3 of them were Lin Yi, Ling Shi, and Silent Soul. Half a month. The 3 of them crossed 100,000 li and appeared outside Demon Sealing City. Not going to Demon Sealing City? Young master, where are you going? Silent Soul and Ling Shi couldn't help but be surprised when they heard Lin Yi's words. They looked at Lin Yi curiously. He had already traveled thousands of miles to Demon Sealing City, but he didn't go there. It really made people feel puzzled and curious. Sky Split Demon Tower. Lin Yi smiled. It went without saying that he would not go to Demon Sealing City now. This was because the demonic sect of the Celestial Demon City and the humans of the Demon Sealing City were about to go to war. In such a great battle, he was of no use at all. Young Master's goal is the 5-colored Divine Stone. Silent Soul looked at Lin Yi in shock. She didn't expect Lin Yi to go to the Sky Split Demon Tower. If it was before the war between the demonic sect and the Tianhai sect broke out, there would be a glimmer of hope because the demonic sect wouldn't send out a super expert to kill a genius so blatantly. At least, they wouldn't do it blatantly. But now, the war between the demonic sect and the Tianhai sect had broken out. Lin Yi going to the Sky Split Demon Tower was undoubtedly courting death. The Sky Split Demon Tower was in the territory of the demonic realm. That place was the world of the demonic sect, and there were demonic sect experts everywhere. There were yin-yang realm experts everywhere, and countless void refinement realm experts. You know about the 5-colored Divine Stone? Lin Yi couldn't help but be surprised. He didn't expect Silent Soul to know his goal. Yes. The all-spirit water of the Dragon Palace. The 5-colored Divine Stone of the Sky Split Demon Tower. The Sky Heart Divine Fruit of the Heavenly Fox Clan. These 3 are all peerless treasures of heaven and earth. Silent Soul nodded. Although there weren't many people in this world who knew about these treasures of heaven and earth, she did. The Sky Heart Divine Fruit is in the Heavenly Fox Clan? Lin Yi looked at Silent Soul. This was an incredible piece of news. He didn't expect that not only would there be news of the 5-colored divine stone and all spirit water, but now there was news of the sky heart divine fruit. If it wasn't for Silent Soul, he wouldn't have known that the sky heart divine fruit was in the Heavenly Fox clan. I heard from the clan leader. The sky heart divine fruit is in the Forbidden Grounds. Silent Soul replied. She naturally wouldn't think that Lin Yi needed the sky heart divine fruit. Then Demon Sealing City and Sky Demon City. Go to the Sky Split Demon Tower. Lin Yi pondered for a moment. He said. Although he was powerful, he wasn't confident that he could go to the Sky Split Demon Tower in front of millions of demonic sect experts. As long as he avoided Demon Sealing City and Sky Demon City, he was confident that he could deal with the demonic sect experts along the way. Whoosh whoosh, the three of them used their movement techniques and ran quickly. It took them 3 days to avoid Demon Sealing City and Sky Demon City and enter the territory of the demon area. The territory of the demon area wasn't filled with demon chi. It was just that it was the world of the demonic sect. Moreover, it was said that the territory of the demon area had countless secret realms left behind from ancient wars. If one was lucky, he or she could find incredible opportunities and powerful treasures in the territory of the demon area. In the territory of the demon area, there were countless demonic sect experts looking for treasures. In the past, there were even many human experts looking for treasures here. Now that the demonic sect and the Heavenly Sea sect were in an all-out war, the human experts disappeared from this place. The three of them were extremely fast. Although Lingxi was only 13 years old, as an elf, her movement technique was amazing. Silent Soul, 9-tailed celestial fox, peak level 9 Wanxiang realm. She was also good at movement technique and speed. Lin Ye's speed was needless to say. Even if he didn't fly, his speed alone was enough to crush a large group of Void Refinement Realm experts. While they were running, Lin Yi was also using the 3000 Heaven Dao and Starry Sky Divine Art. These two cultivation techniques automatically increased one's strength. At the same time, Lin Yi was constantly comprehending and cultivating the Soul Voice and Sky Heart Thrust. You didn't take the path to heaven. You barged into the gates of hell. On the 5th day, Lin Yi and the other two were still half a month away from the Sky Demon Tower. On this day, the three of them were running at full speed. Several powerful and terrifying auras came crushing over, instantly enveloping the three of them. At the same time, a sinister voice sounded. Soon, 4 figures descended from the sky. The 4 figures surrounded Lin Yi and the other two. Their powerful auras caused the space to tremble as if it would collapse at any time. However, after the 4 figures appeared, they didn't rush to attack. Perhaps they saw that Lin Yi and the other two were too weak and didn't take them seriously at all. They knew that the 3 weak humans couldn't escape from their hands. Void Refinement Realm. They were indeed Void Refinement Realm experts. Among the 4 Void Refinement Realm experts, except for one who was at the 2nd level of the Void Refinement Realm, the other 3 were at the 1st level of the Void Refinement Realm. Void Refinement Realm experts could distort yin and yang and turn heaven and earth upside down. They could suppress yin-yang realm experts with their auras alone. You two watch. You can't be soft-hearted towards the remnants of the demonic sect and demons. Lin Yi didn't panic at all. The expression on his face was calm, as if he was at ease. It was as if the 4 of them were in the yin-yang realm, and he was in the Void Refinement realm. As he spoke, he glanced at the 4 Void Refinement Realm experts. Although the demonic sect experts cultivated demonic techniques, they still looked like humans. In other words, they just cultivated different cultivation techniques. Lowly humans. Not only are you weak, but you're also ignorant. Hey, these 2 elf girls are not bad. Let's keep them. We'll have fun tonight, hee hee. Quack quack. The 4 Void Refinement Realm experts were stunned when they saw that Lin Yi and the other 2 weren't panicking at all. Chapter 110. Ling Shi and Silent Soul felt uncomfortable being stared at by the four void refinement stage powerhouses. The evil stares were simply disgusting. If they were powerful enough, they would definitely kill them. However, they were facing four void refinement stage powerhouses who could make them disappear in a puff of smoke. Brother Lin. Ling Shi looked up at Lin Yi with an aggrieved expression. Silent Soul also looked at Lin Yi. Master, do you need me to do it? Silent Soul asked Lin Yi. He meant to ask if Lin Yi could defeat the four void refinement stage powerhouses. If he couldn't, she could break the seal. After breaking the seal, she was confident that she could defeat the four void refinement stage powerhouses. She knew that Lin Yi was monstrous and powerful. However, she had never seen Lin Yi fight with a void refinement stage powerhouse. No need. Lin Yi shook his head and took a step forward. Instantly, a destructive aura burst out from his body. With a thought, the Skyflame's sacred saber appeared in his hand. The domineering saber intent stirred up heaven and earth, causing the sky to darken and blur. Fifth level Yin-Yang stage, however. He cultivated the Starry Sky Divine technique, and his true origin was comparable to 3 levels. Tenfold Destruction Saber. With a soft shout, the Skyflame's sacred saber in his hand slashed down. 128 peerless saber lights came crashing down in an overwhelming manner. The space trembled. Strong wind raged. The ground cracked. This attack was comparable to a full-force attack from a third-level void refinement stage powerhouse. Wherever the saber ray passed, the space was pierced and turned into nothingness. The four demonic sect experts at the void refining realm could not help but exclaim in surprise when they felt the power of Lin Ye's attack. They could not believe that a young man at the Yin-Yang realm LV5 could be so powerful. The endless saber light brought about the threat of death to them. Demonic Light Shield. Sky Demon Saber. Demonic Blood Fist. Limitless Demonic Tao. At this moment, the four demonic sect experts no longer dared to underestimate Lin Yi. Each of them unleashed a powerful attack or defense to meet the saber light. They didn't want to be injured by Lin Yi, and they didn't want to be killed by Lin Yi. Moreover, they wanted to kill Lin Yi and take away the two beautiful elven women. Rumble! Rumble! The overwhelming saber radiance collided with the attacks and defenses of the four powerhouses at the void refining stage. In an instant, the space was torn apart. The sound of destruction continued, and the ground around them began to crack. In the destructive saber light. Amidst the endless demonic chi, there was the sound of blood spurting out. A devil sect powerhouse at the first-level void refinement stage was slashed into pieces by the saber ray. The other 3 powerhouses at the void refining stage were more or less injured. The wound emitted saber intent. The remaining 3 void refinement stage demonic cult powerhouses could not help but sigh. His expression was extremely unsightly. One of the 4 void refinement stage experts was killed by a young man at the 5th level of the Yin-Yang realm, and the remaining 3 were injured. This was far beyond their imagination. In the distance, Ling Shi and Silent Soul. Although they knew Lin Yi was powerful, they didn't expect Lin Yi to be so powerful. Until now, they still didn't know how powerful Lin Yi was. 8th level. The Skyflame's sacred saber in Lin Ye's hand emitted a destructive flame. Without any hesitation, he slashed continuously. For a moment, the entire space was filled with destructive saber radiance. Finally, when Lin Yi slashed the 6th time, none of the demonic sect's void refinement stage powerhouses survived. They were all killed by the saber radiance. The dust that soared into the sky slowly fell. The ground calmed down. Lin Yi had already put away the Skyflame's sacred saber. I'm almost at the 9th level of the 10-level destructive saber. Lin Yi muttered to himself. Among the cultivation methods and martial skills that he cultivated, the 10-level destructive saber improved the fastest. There were a total of 10 levels. Now, he had cultivated to the peak of the 8th level. He was only one step away from the 9th level. If such a battle continued for a few more times, he would definitely reach the 9th level. The 9th level of the 10-level destructive saber was countless times more powerful than the 8th level. When the 10-level destructive saber reached its peak, it would have the power of a heaven-level martial skill. He stood tall and his clothes were clean and tidy. He didn't look like he had fought a great battle at all. His scholarly aura couldn't be associated with the battle just now. Brother Lin, you're too powerful. 4 Void Refinement stage powerhouses were no match for you even when they joined forces. Ling Shi ran to Lin Ye's side. Her beautiful little face was filled with admiration as she looked at Lin Yi and spoke sweetly. Her little hand was already pulling Lin Ye's long robe. Young master isn't best at saber Dao. If young master fights with all his strength, you should be able to match a 4th-level Void Refinement stage martial artist. Silent Soul walked to Lin Yi and spoke softly. She knew how powerful this human youth was. Even if she released the seal, she might not be his match. After all, Lin Yi was only 16 years old. A young man at the 5th level of the Yin-Yang stage was so powerful. Monster, this was a monster. Moreover, she knew Lin Yi wasn't best at saber Dao. He could kill 4 Void Refinement stage and 1st-level Void Refinement stage powerhouses without using his most powerful technique. Then, if Lin Yi displayed his most powerful strength, she really didn't know how powerful he would be. Since you chose to follow me, you should understand that you're my woman. You'll get more than you can imagine. I'll say the ugly words first. You have to remember your identity. I hate betrayal the most. Of course, you can regret it now. I can still treat you as my junior sister. Lin Yi smiled. His clear and wise eyes looked at Silent Soul. He reached out his hand and lifted Silent Soul's chin. Looking at that beautiful and seductive face, he spoke softly. His tone and actions were domineering. Stunner, she was indeed stunner. Her body was flawless. He couldn't find a single flaw. There were some words that he didn't want to say. However, these words had to be said. The ugly words had to be said first. He knew that Silent Soul was smart and could understand what he meant. If even Silent Soul wasn't smart, then there would be no smart people in this world. The Heavenly Fox clan was smart and had great wisdom. As a 9-tailed Heavenly Fox, she was even more intelligent. Ling Shi was also very smart. She looked at Lin Yi with her lively eyes and didn't say anything. She knew that she couldn't say anything at this time. Silent Soul understands. Silent Soul pondered for a moment and closed her eyes. After a while, she opened her eyes. Her eyes were firm as she nodded to Lin Yi. Just now, in her mind, she thought a lot. When she was in the Tianhai sect, Lin Yi told her to find him after she entered the Tianhai sect. She knew that she would follow Lin Yi. At that time, she only treated Lin Yi as a temporary support. Until Lin Yi displayed his heaven-defying talent and strength, she knew that Lin Yi would be her support for the rest of her life. Now, Lin Yi's words made her feel a little nervous. However, she quickly reacted. Becoming Lin Yi's woman was naturally a good thing. She was afraid that she wasn't qualified to be Lin Yi's woman, a woman with a name. However, this was a matter for the future. As long as she was by Lin Yi's side, there would be opportunities. Chapter 111. Brother Lin. What about me? After Ling Shi saw that Lin Yi and Silent Soul's matter had ended, she quickly asked Lin Yi. Her little face was filled with anticipation as she looked at Lin Yi. Sister Ji Ling had someone to rely on and Brother Lin was helping her. She was anxious that she had no one to rely on. Although she was still young, she could feel the closeness that Lin Yi gave her. It was as if he was family. It was her first time experiencing such a feeling in the human world. Don't you have me, Shi-er? I'll turn anyone who dares to bully Shi-er into ashes. Lin Yi almost laughed out loud. He reached out to rub Lingxi's hair and said with a smile, "Thank you, Brother Lin." Beep, when Lingxi heard Lin Ye's words, she was extremely excited. She stood on her tiptoes and kissed Lin Yi on the cheek with her rosy lip. Lin Yi was stunned by Lingxi's action. This little elf really made him speechless. "Let's go." Lin Ye's figure flashed and took the storage bags from the 4 demon sect powerhouses. He took Ling Shi and Silent Soul and dashed forward, leaving this troublesome place. The territory of the demon sect was the territory of the demon territory. A piece of news spread in the territory of the demon territory. The news was like a bomb that exploded among the demon sect powerhouses. A man and 2 women from the Heavenly Sea sect had entered the territory of the demon territory. Not only that, countless experts had fallen at the hands of the 3 of them. A simple count was made. They had killed at least 200 yin-yang stage powerhouses. They had also killed around 100 void refinement stage powerhouses. Wherever the 3 of them passed, nothing could stand in their way. No one could stop them. They killed as they went. Even the strongest 6th level void refinement stage demon sect powerhouse was killed by the young man. A 5th level yin-yang stage young man killed a 6th level void refinement stage powerhouse. That's impossible. The 5th level yin-yang stage and the 6th level void refinement stage are 11 levels apart. How can he kill a 6th level void refinement stage powerhouse? That's the truth. That young man is too monstrous. Some people speculate that the youth is the Heavenly Sea sect's #1 monster, Lin Yi. He killed the 9th young master in a single move. They should be heading towards the Heavenspan Demon Tower. The Heavenly Sea sect and the demonic sect are in an all-out war. Lin Yi actually dares to be so arrogant in the territory of the demonic region. How arrogant! Lin Ye's reputation resounded like thunder among the demonic sect experts. It could be said that in the eyes of the devil sect's experts, the most monstrous people were Lin Yi and Nangong Xie. For a time, countless devil sect powerhouses were terrified. They were afraid they would encounter Lin Yi in the devil territory. After all, he was a heaven-defying monster who could kill a 6th level void refinement stage powerhouse. However, there were also many super experts who wanted to kill Lin Yi. For example, the 10 young masters of the demonic sect. Another example was some of the 7th or 8th level void refinement stage powerhouses. Gradually, countless prodigies and void refinement stage powerhouses from the devil sect rushed to the Heavenspan Demon Tower. They were prepared to kill Lin Yi in the Heavenspan Demon Tower. In other words, they wanted to kill Lin Yi in the territory of the devil territory. They wanted him to never be able to return to the Heavenly Sea City. More importantly, some people said that Lin Yi had a supreme treasure on him. The 9th young master's death was because of that supreme treasure. What? Lin Yi went to the territory of the devil territory. In the devil sealing city, millions of experts from the Heavenly Sea realm gathered. The war with the devil sect was about to break out. 2 of the 4 supreme elders were in charge of the devil sealing city. 7 of the 10 supreme elders were here. There were also countless void refinement stage elders and true disciples. The strongest forces in the entire Heavenly Sea realm were gathered here. Inside the city governor's estate, Supreme Elder Xian Du Liang sat on the main seat. There were more than 10 peerless powerhouses sitting on both sides of the main seat. In the center of the hall, a man in green was reporting. He was in charge of all the information in the Heavenly Sea sect. When he received news about Lin Yi in the territory of the devil territory, he immediately reported it to the Supreme Elder. Xian Du Liang was shocked when he heard the man in green. The other peerless powerhouses in the hall were also shocked. What kind of place was the territory of the devil territory? It was the territory of the devil sect. Even in the past, not many people dared to go to the territory of the devil territory, let alone the Heavenspan Demon Tower, let alone the Heavenspan Demon Tower. The Heavenspan Demon Tower was the forbidden land of the devil sect. It was also the sacred land of the devil sect. Now, Lin Yi was going to the Heaven-span Demon Tower. More importantly, Lin Yi was killing people along the way. It was as if he could kill anyone in his way. It said, more than 200 Yin-Yang stage powerhouses died in his hands. Almost 100 void refinement stage powerhouses died. The strongest one was at the 6th level void refinement stage. The man in green told them the news that the devil sect powerhouses had spread. He had also sent people to investigate. Lin Yi had indeed killed countless devil sect powerhouses. Wherever he went, he killed. A young man at the 5th level of the Yin-Yang stage was leading a 13-year-old elf girl and a beautiful woman in the territory of the devil territory. It was indeed unimaginable. His goal is the 5-colored divine stone. This little guy is indeed monstrous. Xian Du Liang pondered for a moment and said, he just felt that this little guy was too arrogant. If he kept a low profile and didn't go to the territory of the devil territory, he would be able to reach the void refinement stage in a few years. At that time, not many people in the heavenly sea realm could threaten him. I don't know how long he can last. His appearance caused the devil sect powerhouses to besiege him. No matter how strong he is, he can't fight against so many. With the current situation in the territory of the devil territory, even if we go, we will only die. It's up to him now. The other peerless powerhouses in the hall were discussing in low voices. Although they admitted that Lin Yi was monstrous, Lin Yi was only at the 5th level of the Yin-Yang stage. When he reached the heavenly demon tower, what awaited him would be overwhelming devil sect powerhouses. At that time, it would be impossible for him to escape. He would have to stay in the territory of the devil territory forever. There are people from the demonic sect watching our every move, Lin Fan said. We can't get away at all. Moreover, even if I go to the territory of the devil territory, I won't be able to return. That old fart of the devil sect can't leave the territory of the devil territory. He wants us to go to him. Supreme Elder Xiao Tianwu had a grave expression on his face. He had lived for 200 years and dealt with the devil sect all his life. He naturally knew the ins and outs of the devil sect. There was a terrifying old monster in the devil sect. That old monster was extremely powerful. It was estimated that even if the 4 Grand Elders joined forces, they wouldn't be a match for that old monster. However, that old monster couldn't leave the territory of the devil territory. Otherwise, the Heavenly Sea sect would have ceased to exist. Open the sky eye screen, Xian Du Liang said. He asked someone to open the sky eye screen. The sky eye screen was a secret technique of the Heavenly Sea sect. It could also be considered a super treasure. As long as one was a disciple of the Heavenly Sea sect, one would have a life card or life pearl. The sky eye screen could project the disciples' every move through the essence blood and aura left behind by the Heavenly Sea sect's disciple. The sky eye screen was extremely magical. However, it had to pay a high price. Chapter 112. Half a month later, Lin Yi and the other 2 crossed the demon's territory. Finally, they were 100 miles away from the Sky Demon Tower. In this half a month, Lin Yi had lost count of how many demon sect experts he had killed. The 11th Young Master, 8th Young Master, 7th Young Master, and 5th Young Master of the Devil Sect were the only ones who could remember. 4 young masters of the Devil Sect had perished in their own territory. To the experts of the Devil Sect, this was a humiliation. The frequent battles had made his strength soar. At the same time, he had obtained countless wealth and resources from the Demon Sect experts. Brother Lin, why don't we not go to the Sky Demon Tower first? Looking at the densely packed Demon Sect experts below the tall Sky Demon Tower, the soaring demonic aura distorted the space, and the domineering power made one's heart tremble. Facing so many Demon Sect experts, Ling Shi was indeed afraid. You're too naive. Do you think they will let us leave if we return now? Silent Soul looked at the demon sect experts in the distance and said. She was afraid too. But she didn't show it. Moreover, wherever Lin Yi went, she would go. At this moment, seeing countless demon sect experts, she was looking forward to it. She wanted to know where Lin Ye's limit was. She was even looking forward to it because this would be a kind of sharing weal and woe together. Tell me, how many people are there? Lin Ye's face was calm, and there was even a trace of a smile at the corner of his mouth. An unparalleled battle intent rose from the bottom of his heart. In this place, he could kill without any restraint. It was an unbridled battle. He could unleash his strength without any scruples. About 1,000 people. Most of them are in the void refinement realm. Silent Soul looked at the experts below the Sky Demon Tower and said in a low voice. It was hard to count the seemingly densely packed demon sect experts. But it was actually very simple. Because these demon sect experts were all emitting a monstrous demonic aura. Every demon sect expert was a strand of demonic aura. As long as one could count the amount of demonic aura, one would know how many demon sect experts there were. Sure, take a rest. Lin Yi smiled. Before Lingxi could react, he waved his hand. Ling Shi, who had been by his side, disappeared. When she reappeared, she was already in the ninefold space. In the ninefold space, Ling Shi's face was filled with shock and confusion. Naturally, she didn't know that she was in an independent small world. A spatial treasure. Silent Soul was truly shocked this time. From Lin Ye's actions and Ling Shi's disappearance, she guessed that Lin Yi must have put Ling Shi into a spatial treasure. Moreover, it was a spatial treasure, because ordinary people would not be able to survive in it. Only a spatial treasure could allow a living person to survive in it. Clearly, Lin Yi possessed a spatial treasure. Spatial treasures were truly peerless treasures. Experts all used storage pouches, which had a very small capacity. Spatial treasures, on the other hand, had a stable space and a large capacity. In the Sky Sea realm, there were no spatial treasures, only storage bags. Release the seal. Lin Yi didn't answer Silent Soul. This was also indirectly admitting that he had a spatial treasure. He was curious about Silent Soul's ability to release the seal. If Silent Soul was strong enough to protect herself, he would let Silent Soul fight with him. If Silent Soul wasn't strong enough to protect herself, he could only let Silent Soul enter the ninefold space. Yes. Silent Soul nodded. Instantly, a pair of slender hands waved. A magical aura instantly spread out. Silent Soul's cultivation soared from the 9th level of the manifestation stage to the 1st level of the yin-yang stage, then the 2nd level, the 3rd level, the 4th level, the 5th level. In less than 10 breaths, Silent Soul's cultivation reached the peak of the 6th level of the void refinement stage. It stopped at the peak of the 6th level of the void refinement stage. At the same time, 3 furry tails grew out of Silent Soul's back. She was even more alluring and seductive. More importantly, Silent Soul's body emitted a mesmerizing fragrance. This fragrance was enough to make any living being's heart tremble. Very beautiful. You're in charge of collecting their storage pouches. Lin Ye's eyes were fixed on Solitary Spirit, and his heartbeat couldn't help but accelerate. She was a real beauty. He reached out and lifted Smart Soul's chin and sniffed. His actions were naughty. Yes, young master. Solitary Spirit's beautiful little face couldn't help but blush. She nodded obediently. She initially thought Lin Yi wanted her to release the seal and fight. She didn't expect that Lin Yi only wanted her to collect the storage pouches of the Devil Sex powerhouses. In other words, she was helping Lin Yi collect the spoils. Whoosh 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 whoosh, Lin Yi pulled Solitary Spirit's small hand, and their figures flashed quickly. They dashed towards the direction of the Skypass Devil Tower. In a short moment, the two appeared in front of all the Devil Sex powerhouses. Thousands of Devil Sex powerhouses emitted devil chi that soared into the sky. Their domineering aura distorted heaven and earth. Many devil sex powerhouses were shocked when they saw Lin Yi and Silent Soul still daring to come to their deaths. But most of them were furious. It was obvious that Lin Ye's actions were ignoring them. Kill. The devil sex powerhouses didn't waste any time talking to Lin Yi. This time, the devil sex powerhouses were led by the third young master. The third young master was at the peak of the 5th level void refinement stage. He waved his hand and made a kill gesture. Thousands of devil sex powerhouses instantly charged towards Lin Yi and Silent Soul. In a moment, the space shattered, and the spirit chi and devil chi shook. It was like the end of the world. Tenfold Destruction Blade. Ultimate Complete Stage. Lin Yi used his divine thought and the Skyflame's sacred blade appeared in his hand. Then, an unparalleled blade intent burst out. He circulated the starry sky divine technique to the maximum and slashed out with the Skyflame's sacred blade. In a moment, the sky within 100 miles darkened. The ground cracked and the space shattered. The sky was filled with Lin Ye's blade gleam. This part of the world was filled with blade gleam. Unparalleled blade gleam. At this moment, the blade gleam was more than 1,000 times stronger than the last time in terms of power and quantity. Because at this moment, Lin Yi used the tenfold destruction blade to the maximum. The tenfold destruction blade was a supreme grade heaven rank. The power of a supreme grade heaven rank martial skill could destroy the world. In this world, there were countless heaven ranked martial skills and cultivation technique. However, there were only a few who could truly cultivate their martial skills and cultivation techniques to the pinnacle. Yet, Lin Yi had cultivated his heaven-ranked martial skill to the pinnacle. Rumble! Rumble! The blade gleam descended like a punishment from the heavens. Thousands of devil sex powerhouses felt the destructive power of Lin Ye's blade gleam and wanted to die. Comparisons were odious. Lin Yi was just a young man at Yin-Yang Realm Level 5. But he had such heaven-defying strength that he could crush thousands of Void Refinement Realm powerhouses with one strike. The blade gleam fell. Countless powerhouses spurted out blood. No one below the Void Refinement Realm survived. Even the powerhouses at the first or second level of the Void Refinement Realm could not withstand the endless blade gleam. They instantly disappeared and turned into dust. Thousands of devil sex powerhouses. At this moment there were only about 200 of them left. The remaining powerhouses were all at least at the 3rd level of the Void Refinement Realm. The one with the highest cultivation base was at the 7th level of the Void Refinement Realm. Chapter 113. Fly up. He's at the Yin-Yang Realm. He can't fly. What a terrifying move! The saber intent of this move is at least at the peak of the 2nd level. Heaven-level martial skill. Damn you, lowly human. The demonic sect elite's faces turned ugly. They didn't expect that 80% of the demon sect members would die in such a simple move. He killed hundreds of super powerhouses with one move. Many demon sect powerhouses saw that Lin Yi was only at the Yin-Yang realm and couldn't fly, so they found Lin Ye's weakness. Immediately, all the demon sect powerhouses at the Void Refinement Realm flew into the air. This was the difference between the Void Refinement Realm and the Yin-Yang realm. It wasn't just the strength and quantity of true origin. The biggest difference was that one could fly, while the other could only stay on the ground. Flying in the air and attacking the people below naturally had an absolute advantage. Master, I'll take you flying. Silent Soul naturally saw Lin Ye's weakness. He also knew the purpose of the demon sect powerhouses. He spoke in Lin Ye's ear. His breath was like orchids, which made Lin Yi restless. Your master is omnipotent. Lin Yi shook his head. There was a confident smile on his face. As he spoke, the wings of space unfolded. Immediately, a pair of crystal-clear wings grew out of his back. After the wings spread out, They were 2 meters wide and emitted a mysterious power and aura. The space trembled and cracked in front of the wings. It was a magical scene. With a flap of the wings, Lin Yi flew into the air. His speed was much faster than the Void Refinement Realm powerhouses. In other words, Lin Ye's speed directly crushed all the Void Refinement Realm powerhouses present. How is it possible? It's impossible for a Yin-Yang Realm powerhouse to fly. It's not flying. It's a heaven-defying talent with the power of space. It seems that he's been controlling this talent for a long time. In other words, he could fly before he reached the manifestation realm. What a terrifying speed! It's even faster than the 5th level of the Void Refinement Realm. Isn't this mere human a little too heaven-defying? The demon sect powerhouses saw the wings of space on Lin Ye's back. He was stunned as if he had seen a ghost. Originally, he thought that those in the Voiding Realm would have the advantage of flying in the air to crush Lin Yi. But now it seemed that he had thought too much. Not only did those in the Voiding Realm not have the advantage, but they were also crushed in the face of the so-called advantage. The wings of space shocked them even more than the ultimate move of the tenfold destruction saber. Young Master is too monstrous. I really don't know how many shocking secrets he has. Silent Soul watched as Lin Yi flew into the air. He was completely shocked. A trace of disappointment appeared in his heart. Originally, he could fly so he could bring Lin Yi along. This way, he could prove his significance and value by Lin Ye's side. At the very least, he could help Lin Yi a little. However, the value he thought was worthless in front of Lin Yi. In a flash, she appeared beside Lin Yi. Hovering in the air, he stared at the demonic sect experts in the distance. At the same time, 2 ribbons appeared in his hands. The ribbons shuttled back and forth, collecting the storage bags and weapons of the dead demonic sect expert. A great battle. After just one move, he stopped. Demon Sealing City. In the hall of the City Lord's mansion, more than a dozen peerless experts gathered. In the hall, there was a crystal screen that was 10 meters in size. On the crystal screen, the scene of the destructive battle in front of the Sky Demon Tower was playing. In the battle, a young man slashed with his saber, and suddenly the sky turned dark and the earth was destroyed. The entire space was filled with the unparalleled destructive saber light. Under the saber light, hundreds of demonic sect experts died. With just one slash, 80% of the demonic sect experts died. After this slash, the demonic sect expert in the Void Refinement Realm flew into the air and had an absolute advantage. This situation worried the peerless experts in the hall. However, the young man's next move shocked them all. He couldn't fly in the air, but he had wings with the power of space, which were more powerful than the Void Refinement Realm experts. Seeing this, the dozen or so peerless experts in the hall were shocked. I didn't expect this little guy to be so heaven-defying. He should be able to fly before he reached the manifestation realm. In other words, he was invincible when he was at the manifestation realm. Those wings are his innate talent, the innate talent of space. That slash is so terrifying. He cultivated a heaven-rank martial skill to its peak. Shock. There was nothing but shock. Those present were all peerless experts who had surpassed the Void Refinement Realm. In their eyes, they naturally wouldn't take a Void Refinement Realm expert seriously, let alone a Yin-Yang Realm expert. However, at this moment, these peerless experts were shocked by a Yin-Yang Realm expert. This young man's monstrous talent exceeded their imagination. Lin Yi, you'll stay in the territory of the demonic region forever today. Below the Sky Demon Tower, the third young master, Yen Lai, looked at Lin Yi with an evil gaze. As the third young master of the demonic sect, his cultivation had reached the 5th level of the Void Refinement Realm, and he was invincible among his peers. In the future, he might be the demonic sect's sect master. In other words, among the demonic sect's young masters, only 2 people could compete with him for the position of sect master. They were the first young master and the second young master. As for the other young masters, they weren't even on the same level as him. No matter if it was talent or strength, he crushed them all. He, who was high above his peers, looked down on everyone. He didn't expect a mere human youth to be so heaven-defying. It completely destroyed his confidence. A 5th-level Yin-Yang Realm expert's attack was comparable to a 4th-level Void Refinement Realm expert. If this human youth had the same cultivation level as him, he wouldn't be a match for this human. Today, he had to eliminate this human. You're no different from the other young masters of the demonic sect. You're weak, but you talk big. Lin Yi smiled and didn't rush to make a move. Instead, he waited for Silent Soul to collect the storage pouches of the demonic sect's expert. These demonic sect experts were all at the Yin-Yang realm and above, so their wealth was naturally extraordinary. Perhaps one demonic sect expert didn't have much wealth, but the wealth of hundreds or thousands of people added together was definitely a terrifying amount. Do you think you can leave the territory of the demonic region alive? Yen Lai's tone was cold. The anger in his heart grew stronger. Can I leave or not? That's a matter for the future. At least, you won't know. Kill. Lin Yi circulated the starry sky divine technique, and the yin-yang energy reached its limit. The sky flames, sacred sabers, blazing flames devoured endless demon chi and spirit chi. Saber intent raged in the air, and gusts of wind stirred up heaven and earth. At this moment, Lin Ye's body and saber were almost one. 10th-level destruction saber, ultimate perfection. The ultimate saber slashed out again. However, this saber was more than 10 times stronger than the previous one. This was because this saber contained an invincible attack. It was absolutely invincible. Crack! Chapter 114. On Monday, Luo Hua asked everyone for recommendation tickets and tip. Now, God Emperor Tian's sword was piking with dozens of new books. If he won, he would be able to get better recommendations. Luo Hua would also have more motivation to write. If he failed, he would not be able to advance. For the other new books, there were countless people helping. Luo Hua could only ask for help from her brothers and sisters. God Emperor Tian's sword had grown up with everyone. Everyone did not want their favorite books to be killed in piking. Everyone, please help Luo Hua. Thank you. Oh right, there are still 5 chapters today. Luo Hua is still working hard to write through the night. Everyone, please give Luo Hua some encouragement. Luo Hua will definitely work hard to write more chapters. Please vote. Please vote. Please vote. Important things must be said 3 times. God Emperor Tian's sword has reached the most critical moment. Everyone, please help him. Of course, it would be even better if there were tips. Luo Hua does not want too much. Everyone can tip 1 yuan, which is 100 book coins. This way, Luo Hua can see some hope and contribute to God Emperor Tian's sword. Tip recommendation tickets, comments, collection. Luo Hua is in short supply. Let's not talk about it anymore. I have to use more time to write to repay everyone. Today it will be an all-nighter. Luo Hua did not have money to buy Red Bull, so she bought a big pot of water. Seeing the strong support of her brothers and sisters, Luo Hua felt sweet even drinking plain water. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Chapter 115. It was a supreme-grade heaven-rank martial skill, a peak attack. Its power had already exceeded the scope of ordinary people's imagination. The attack carried with it endless saber Dao charm. In the face of the peerless power, everything was nothing. Everything in the space was destroyed and turned into nothingness. The Devil Sect powerhouses with a slightly lower cultivation base were directly crushed by the saber ray. The space within a radius of 100 miles was shattered and restored and shattered again. This repeated over and over again. The faces of the demonic sect experts were filled with horror and despair. They could only use their strongest attacks and defenses, hoping that they could withstand the endless saber radiance. If they could not block the saber ray's power, then what awaited them was death. A question arose in the hearts of countless devil sect powerhouses. They had the same cultivation base and the same martial skill. However, the difference in power was countless times greater. Invincible attack. Not bad. It was an invincible attack. Lin Ye's invincible attack. However, other than Lin Yi himself, the others naturally did not know about Lin Ye's invincible attack. This attack was absolutely invincible. When combined with the ultimate saber move, its power was unparalleled. Countless screams. Countless blood curtains. Countless devil sect powerhouses fell to the ground continuously. It was as spectacular as dumplings. The invincible saber ray made the devil sect powerhouses despair. Finally, the saber ray disappeared. The ground returned to its calm state. However, there were only a dozen devil sect powerhouses left below the heavenly demon tower. The rest were all killed by Lin Ye's ultimate saber move. Most of them were directly turned into nothingness. There were 8 6th-level Void Refinement Realm powerhouses and 3 7th-level Void Refinement Realm powerhouses who survived. The third young master, Yen Lai, was the only 5th-level Void Refinement Realm powerhouse. However, among the 13 powerhouses, only he was not injured. He looked at Lin Yi coldly with an evil gleam in his eyes. At this moment, he hated Lin Yi to the core. At the same time, a trace of fear and dread came from the bottom of his heart and slowly spread throughout his soul. I can't use this move anymore. A bloodthirsty smile appeared on the corner of Yen Lai's mouth. He could see that Lin Yi could no longer display the destructive blade light. Generally speaking, a martial skill like this could only be used once. It was absolutely impossible to use it twice in a row. As long as Lin Yi did not use the destructive saber light, then Lin Yi was nothing. As he spoke, he stared at Lin Yi, trying to glean something from Lin Ye's expression. Although he had guessed it, he couldn't be sure. So what? Lin Yi had a smile on his face. With a thought, the heavenly flame's sacred blade returned to the ninefold space. From Yen Lai's point of view, his actions confirmed his conjecture. Immediately, he couldn't help but relax. That trace of fear in his heart also disappeared. The other demonic sect experts also heaved a sigh of relief. If Lin Yi had been able to unleash his destructive saber light without restraint, then even they would have fallen here and been completely wiped out. Now, it was time for this lowly human youth to pay the price. You'll find out soon enough. Yen Lai circulated his true yuan. The power of the true devil art erupted. He wanted to personally behead Lin Yi to eliminate the hatred in his heart. At the same time, a huge demonic hammer appeared in Yen Lai's hand. The demonic hammer was pitch black and had a corrosive force. The moment the demonic hammer appeared, the space slightly trembled. Sacred Tool, 5th Revolution Sacred Tool. Compared to the Heavenly Flame Sacred Blade, it was several grades stronger. The Heavenly Flame Sacred Blade was only a 2nd Revolution Sacred Tool. A 5th Revolution Sacred Tool, suitable for the giant clan. Silent Soul, how long do you think he can last in front of me? Lin Yi smiled. He didn't put Yen Lai in his eyes at all. A 5th Revolution Sacred Tool was very powerful. However, he, Lin Yi, didn't have the slightest bit of fear. If they were to truly fight, he could even prevent Yen Lai from having the opportunity to use his saint weapon. However, he didn't want to reveal his strength so early. Silent Soul doesn't know. Silent Soul was shocked. It was indescribable. She still hadn't recovered from the shock of Lin Yi killing countless Void Refinement stage experts. Now, the third young master of the Devil Sect was displaying a 5th Revolution Sacred Tool, but Lin Yi didn't seem to care at all. However, Lin Yi still asked her how long Yen Lai could last in front of him. How could she not be shocked? However, the stronger and more monstrous Lin Yi was, the happier she would be. You guys, capture her alive. I want him to see with his own eyes how that woman is going to die under me. Yen Lai ordered the other void refinement stage experts to capture Silent Soul alive. Although he wasn't lustful, he couldn't refuse a beauty like Silent Soul. As he spoke, Yen Lai's figure flashed and attacked Lin Yi. As the third young master of the Devil Sect, a fifth-level void refinement stage super genius had terrifying strength. Not only was he invincible among his peers, but he could also kill stronger opponents. He didn't care about Lin Yi, who was only at the yin-yang stage. Be careful, Lin Yi reminded Silent Soul. He flapped the space wings and disappeared. When he reappeared, he was behind Yen Lai. The Heavenly Emperor fist smashed out. The space suddenly collapsed. Boom! Lin Yi's disappearance made Yen Lai feel uneasy. At this moment, he finally understood that Lin Yi's strongest point wasn't the sword Dao. His movement technique and speed alone were enough to make one's heart tremble. His speed was almost as fast as teleportation. Feeling the threat of death, he smashed out with his hammer. Suddenly, the Heavenly Emperor fist and the Fifth Revolution sacred tool collided. The space shattered and endless wind raged. Speed was an advantage. Every time Lin Yi's space wings flapped, he disappeared. It was almost the same as a blink of an eye. Space was not obstructed at all because he had the space wings, which were of the space attribute. Space was naturally the world of the space wings. For a time, Lin Yi's Heavenly Emperor fist and Yen Lai's Devil Hammer kept colliding. Every time they collided, Yen Lai would spit out a mouthful of blood. Fifth-level void refinement stage, Fifth Revolution sacred tool. With his strength, he could kill a fifth-level void refinement stage martial artist with every hit. Even a sixth-level void refinement stage martial artist would not dare to easily take on the Devil Hammer. However, he met Lin Yi. Although Lin Yi did not use an invincible attack, the first level of the invincible attack could increase his strength by 2 times. Coupled with the third level of the Heavenly Emperor fist, every punch was like 100,000 mountains crushing down. The physical body collided with the Fifth Revolution sacred tool. It was a shocking scene. Yen Lai was about to collapse. He did not expect this human youth to be so monstrous. His strength was even more terrifying than his own at the 5th level of the yin-yang stage. He did not dare to imagine that if Lin Yi was also at the 5th level of the void refinement stage, would he be instantly killed by Lin Yi? Sky Quake Devil Hammer. Die for me. Yen Lai's heart was overflowing with anger. He was constantly being attacked like a punching bag, which made him extremely depressed. He no longer dared to hesitate. He used his most powerful hammer and fiercely smashed it toward Lin Yi. Suddenly, the space was shattered. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.